Who's holding my hand in the darkness? Seeing ghosts down the hallway. There's a presence, bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on, I wake up paralyzed.
This pain of coming back to life, I feel everything, everything. When I open my eyes, your face, I'll never forget. Your horror, my pain, I'm alive, living again. I feel every stitch and every scar. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. Feel like a god? Do you feel like a god? Creating without thinking, no pros, no cons. You let me walk, you let me see, you let me feel. I found her, but she did not know me. I reached for her, but she recoiled in horror. I wanted to beg anything for her love. The look on her face, I want out of this place. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. It doesn't matter, it can't matter no more. I'm in incomplete. I'm missing me. The world is darker than I remember. I wanna love her, but this heart is not mine. I wanna touch her, but these hands are not mine. I wanna tell her I love her, but this voice is not mine. Looking into her eyes, I saw how love dies. Now that's where her body lies. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. Revenge shall be mine. I'll catch you in time. You gave me the pain of coming back to life. I want you to see me. Look what you've done, what you've done. A man no more from a madman's hands. I walk alone, no part of me is home. Place me back under the stone. Father, what's my purpose? Abandoned, left for dead, a monster. Why have you forsaken me? Accept me as I am. As I am. What's my purpose?
Pen to paper, a lost friend's letter. In darkness I travel, my eyes upon a house disheveled. Walking the halls, all the pain I see, paranoia and anxiety. Usher was telling me, paranoia rising, the house is hearing, influencing spirits haunting. like the wind she flew in from the cradle. No one could save. Soon the grave, the house of Usher would but cave. Her body on mine, we both lost to insanity's time. Paranoia rising. The house is listening. Influencing spirits haunting. The house of Usher is falling.
Hey, folks, welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. See what we got here in the chat. Thank you for becoming a member, Charles. Remember, tomorrow is members only. So if you're going to join up tomorrow. We have quite the library on the members only now, and we have quite the library. We started out putting out a lot of shows for Patreon and a lot of shows for members only. Now that's going to change in November. In November, it's going to be once a week. We're going to have a Patreon, and then the next week we're going to have the members only. It's going to be boom, like Patreon, and so you're going to get Patreon on a Tuesday. Then the next week it's going to be the Thursday, the members only, and we're not going to have the Saturday shows anymore. Okay, because we have a lot of work to do, and we can't keep up this pace. We did this for October. Okay. But you will still get extra episodes, for being a Patreon member and for being the members only. And of course, as always, you get those wonderful swag bags for being on the Patreon. Everybody loves the swag. You get those. And depending on what you... Oh, go ahead.
Swag's my favorite. As you can tell. I'm rocking the PRT beanie and hoodie. We get a little chilly down here in Texas.
That way.
So it's nice. It's nice and warm. Keeping me nice and warm on the cold night.
Yeah, they got chilly down here. What is it anyway? How cold is it?
I mean, it's not that cold.
I don't think
it's good. 55. It's not like
that's not cold. It's not cold. I've been in some cold climates. It's not cold. Not to me. I mean, because people complain about the heat, but when you've been in the desert and you've been in like far north, like Alaska, shoot, what happened?
His mic was off.
Oh, so you were talking and nobody heard
no
you?
one heard me talk about our PRT beanies and hoodies.
It's cool though because they barely hear him anyway. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard to tell whether his mic is on or off.
So, anyways, what he was saying is that he likes the swag because he's wearing it. I guess. What are you wearing? What is that? Oh, that's
decked out with the hoodie and the beanie.
This morning you were wearing
those are cool beanies, man. I like those.
You had a gray one on
I have a lot. I make sure every time we make a new one.
You and Nelly,
one of them magically disappears.
Y'all steal them from us. That's why we don't have enough now. We have to order more because of you and Nelly.
Well, as the face of the show, I have to model all of our merch, so I just try my best.
I'm glad you're covering part of that up.
Even though no one may see it.
The face of the show who sits there with half of his face cut off the camera and doesn't.
We've gone over this, Anthony. That's all they can handle. That's all they can handle.
Yeah, he doesn't care if his face is cut off. He's he's two-face.
Mm-hmm.
Half a face man. Does not care.
Tony Dent.
And D's out at the ranch. Hope you're staying warm. The ranch right now has no central heat and air. So D's got AC, which was working good. We had the ACs out there. Now he's got the space heater. So Prayers for D. So we will be doing a giveaway tonight. All right. So stick around till the end and you might win something. We're doing a giveaway on all the lives this month of October. So we got what? Tomorrow we have the members only. And then Friday is Halloween. And so we are going to be in costume. I don't know. Like this, okay, so this wasn't my idea, so I don't know who I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to be. I just heard y'all and Nelly and what is it called?
Maddie.
What is it called? Maddie. And so I was looking at y'all's costumes and I was laughing. Folks, I'm telling you, you got to tune in on Friday and nothing else, just to come and see what the costumes are because it was hilarious. And then I was handed some stuff and told that I was going to do this, but I have to be two people, two different, whatever. So I'm like, wow, okay. I'll try. I'll do my best. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I know we're going to do some skits, and then we're going to have to work on some. We have some other stuff we got to do. I don't know whatever it is y'all have going, but I'm on board. Whatever, it's fun. And David Buckle is Leviathan. Yeah, the Leviathan. How dare you talk about our supposed false god? Ridiculous.
Just show up in Halloween in a Speedo.
Yeah, that would be really epic, wouldn't it? So. And Randy asked the same question. One of y'all, which one of y'all is going to be a Leviathan? Hopefully, nobody. I don't think anybody wants to be a thong or in a thong.
I wouldn't even do that.
Well, you wouldn't even do that. What do you say? You say it like, oh, like you do so much crazy stuff. No, you don't. You're not the risk taker. You're not the gambler. Anthony is not a gambler either, man. He isn't. He is not.
I mean, I like blackjack.
You'll play blackjack, but you don't go beyond that.
Nah.
Hold on one second.
$5 bet.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't mind.
Here they are.
Oh, you found them?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Oh,
gambling.
I mean, like, I just quit when I'm ahead. Like, I tried to.
Well, if you do that with everything, with all the machines and with everything, you can come out ahead. I mean, I walked out of a casino more than once, winning over $4,000.
I just don't get like the whole like. I mean, like I'm excited to win, but like the like that gambler's high, like the thing that keeps people sitting there at the table for hours.
Yeah,
I don't feel that.
Yeah, I don't. I start thinking about bills I got to pay,
dude. And then yeah, and then like it never fails. Like I'll be sitting at the blackjack table and having a good time, and some 50, 60, 70-year-old just like lifelong degenerate gambler sits next to me and they ruin it for me because like they're like all mad that I didn't make the right thing. It's like, dude, I'm not here gambling my 401k
like twice
with your old 65, 80-year-old ass, like whatever. It's just, yeah.
I don't know. Anthony will like bet $5 and then win $10 back and be like, woof, that's enough for me. It's too rich for my blood.
Y'all over here going crazy. Yeah. Hold on. I'm taking this hat apart here. I'll just trying to make it.
David, when a male wins, gets a hit of testosterone.
Oh, man, we still don't have scissors over here, do we? Got to use a knife. We're just letting people fill up in the chat, guys, right now. Great. A brand new hat.
I wouldn't mind going gambling again. It was fun.
We haven't been in a while.
Yeah.
It's been about 2 or 3 years since I've been. And the last time I went, I won 2,800.
Yeah,
well, no, I won more, but I came back 2,800 ahead.
Yeah.
Which is that's not normal. People think you're just going to go. What's funny is the first time I ever gambled in my life legally at the casino in Vegas, I won like $2,000. I'm talking like in the 90s. So my sister's ever the pessimist. She's like, that's a dangerous thing. She goes, because now you're going to want to gamble all the time because you're going to think that you're going to always win. I'm like, what? what? Who are you talking to? I mean, like, I'm not that person that's like, oh no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to become a gambling addict now because I won. And then I didn't gamble again for like, okay, that was in July of my birthday. So I didn't gamble again until like December or November, something like that. And then I went and I gambled. But I did start having some issues when I was in Vegas and I was working there for a little while. I was playing craps a lot. And but I won a lot, and I really thought I figured something out about it. And I'm not going to tell people because the reason I don't tell people a whole lot about that is because I don't want people to go out and start gambling because I don't think it's a good thing.
No, we've turned down like endorsements for like sponsorship opportunities for stuff like including like gambling services. Like we don't want to promote alcohol. We don't want to promote that.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the sponsorship offers to do stuff that we're in line with because I won't promote a product that I won't use.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And we've had some weird stuff too, like just apps and stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And then you got to take up half the show just constantly plugging it. One of the things too, thank you, Sean, for that donation. Appreciate it. First one of the night. One of the things too about gambling too, like you do get a dopamine hit from it, and some people they just love that. But you can get the same thing playing on a phone with a game, that's not even real gambling, because now they have they not say now, but they've had it for years. But they have video games where they'll have gambling incorporated into the video game. Like I know we were talking about Fable on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
That was a weird show. If you go and check it out, all those people that showed up, it was weird, but. They'll have like where you can gamble on there, and I'd sit there for like an hour playing that one game in the swamp.
Yeah, I did that too.
You sit there just playing. You're like, and I'm going, and I look at the clock. I'm like, dude, I got things to do, man. I'm like gambling on a video game,
playing a game within a game.
Yeah, a role playing game, and you're like, I got to go get some more money.
Yeah.
So I literally went out and was like, the hobs.
Yeah.
I went out and I was killing the hobs, and then I ran back over there to the gambling table, and I'm like, I'm literally a gambling addict in a video game.
Yeah.
Just get so far out there.
I did the same thing in Fallout.
Fallout's another one. There's a game on there where you can do.
Yeah.
I started playing that just for that
because
I started playing that and I was like, this is fun. So I just wanted to do that. I was like, let's just do this. But I mean, in Fallout, what are you gonna? I mean, the world is destroyed.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I mean.
It's funny, like I got banned from every casino in Fallout for winning too much. Like I just went from one to the next, and got kicked out of all of them.
Thing was
that
was a good touch. I remember that game's old.
And I had to go and get more money to gamble.
Oh, you gotta go. That's what I did on Fable too. So what year did Fallout? That was how long ago?
I think that was like 2010. Well, the only good one, 2010, New Vegas. I think that's
that one. That's the only one I've played.
Yeah.
Man, it's funny because like. And like I'm wearing a Mortal Kombat shirt, but dude, I really like those MMORPGs.
Yeah.
I never could get into Skyrim only because I didn't have the time.
Didn't have gambling.
It didn't, but they had other weird stuff you could do. You're such a wide open world. And at the time it was very, but I couldn't get very far because I always had stuff to do. And then I played Minecraft with you, Tony. We played Minecraft. And I just couldn't get into that. It was just Legos,
virtual
Legos, and I'm like, this is boring. I can't do it. It's not.
Red Dead has gambling.
Red Dead 2 is a pretty freaking epic game too.
I spent way too much time gambling.
They made a skit about it on South Park.
Yeah.
So we got 263 here. Oh wow. Nevaeh's Angel says, used to go to Vegas for hair shows a lot. First time I bet $1, I won 800. I was so happy.
Man.
Yeah. So here's what's funny. We were at the Choctaw with Nelly. And this was probably, God, time flies. This was probably like 5 years ago or something now. Maybe 6 years ago. It's been a while. But we were just headed back up for the night. We were tired. It was summertime, and we had been swimming and everything. And so we were on the floor, and we were fixing to go back upstairs. And we were walking out off the casino floor to go to the elevators, and right there at the end, there's a row of slot machines. And I put $20 into one of those, and I told Nelly, I said, I'm going to try one more slot for the night, and I put $20 in there, and I won 440, and that was it. I just won that, and then I said, oh, we won, and I just took the voucher or whatever, and then took it. And then when we cashed out, I did the math, and when we left after being there for 3 days, we left $2,800 up. Counting losses too. That's counting losses, because Scorpion was with us, and we had a couple of people with us, and everybody all told, as a group, we left $2,800 up.
Yeah.
But so it was really me. Everybody else lost. Like everybody else lost to like $1,000 or something like that. So no, I don't really. So counting for losses. So I guess I probably won over 5 G's.
Well, hold on. Okay, because I left with $1.50 voucher. So I don't want to brag.
Yeah, I remember when you
I was also up.
But nobody burns through it like Scorpion.
No.
Oh,
I made it
man.
last through the 3
Blackjack
days.
Record
table,
time.
Blackjack, and what was the other one he was playing? 7-card stud. And,
Yeah.
and he was playing Caribbean style. I was like, dude, stop playing, because you're losing. And he
Then-
just every table he sat at, he lost.
Then he'll just wander around the casino.
But yeah, I haven't been in so long. It's been years, but I'd love to go back just to get away from life. The thing about those kind of places like that and Windstar and all those places, they're just it's like a resort.
Yeah.
You're just
you don't
there
have to leave for nothing.
Yeah, you don't have to leave. It's like a city. And the best steakhouse in Oklahoma was
man,
right
so
there.
good.
That freaking I couldn't believe
Choctaw.
it. Yeah, coming from Texas, where we got major steak places. I mean, everybody.
Mhm.
Cow capital.
Yeah, but then we go up to Oklahoma, and that steak there in the 1870, whatever it was called,
1824 maybe
something. Nah, it was some. I don't know what it was. But at the Choctaw, man, that place was epic. That place has some really good. I like that better than Windstar because it's a smaller. It's still massive to
Yeah.
walk around, and they got a movie theater there.
Mhm.
Remember
Yeah.
we saw Annabelle.
Yeah.
The doll.
Oh, yeah.
And
We just kept clowning on
we
it.
kept making fun of it. And the people in the theater were laughing. Everybody was
Yeah.
laughing. About it.
I remember they had something going on over at the bowling alley where like you would win like the Astros gear or something if you
Oh,
got
yeah.
strikes. And I got like
Yeah.
3 strikes in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I didn't even think I could. I
Texas Rangers hat.
Yeah, Texas Rangers hats. Yeah, and I was like, well, it's probably not gonna happen. But here goes nothing. Strike,
Dude, and you want us each a hat.
strike.
Yeah.
Crap. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's funny. It's like
Awesome.
the less serious you take something like, and the more kind of casually you just do it, the better you are at it.
The more relaxed you are.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, we've had some fun trips up there. And, we should go, like I said, about twice a year. We go about twice, always in the summer, because, you could swim. But they have a heated indoor pool. But the thing is, I've been there in the winter,
Mhm.
and everybody's in there.
Yeah.
So you can't, but I'm like one of those, like, I'm a polar bear. I don't care,
But also, like, that outside pool is awesome, though.
Yeah.
That little alcove it has is cool to sit
Mhm.
in.
Yeah, we
Swim
were
in my
there one
bar.
year in December, and they have the little rope thing to keep you from going over there. I just like went under and I
Mhm.
swam and I went out into the outdoor pool. It was about 48 degrees outside, and I was flapping around out in that outdoor pool. And this security guard just walks by and he sees me, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm busted. And he's just real friendly. He looked like Denzel Washington. I'm not even joking. I thought it was almost for a minute. I thought, why is Denzel Washington dressed like a security guard? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, sorry. And he goes, I don't care. He's like, he looks around. He goes, I don't care. He's like, it's cold as hell out here. If you want to be cold in the pool, be cold. I don't care. He's like, there's no rule against it. He said that. If you want to go out and swim in the cold, you can. It's up to you. You don't have, there was no rule at that time, I guess. And so I just kept swimming. And then I swam over to the little hot tub area. They have that little cave or whatever. And I went in there and warmed up and then got back out and went into the cold. That water was cold.
Yeah.
But when you take cold showers for 10 years, I mean, what do you care? And now Wim Hof, he has this the new breathing thing, and Nelly cracks up because he says, in with the good, out with the stress.
Yeah.
Okay, on this one, I kid you not, it's 4 rounds, and it's 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then 2.5 minutes, which is pretty hard. If you don't know how to, 2.5 minutes of holding your breath can be hard. But you do 40 breaths in each round. And I think it's like in round 1 or 2. I think it's the second round, not the beginning. He says, "In with the good, out with the shit." It was his newest video for the because he has these different ones,
Yeah.
So I thought I'd try that one to get back into the swing of things after being sick, with the vid, whatever. And so I was sitting there and I was doing the breathing, and when he said that, I was like, because I was sitting there breathing, and I look over and Nellie's just cracking up. She's like, "What?" Like, because I've never heard him say anything like that. Like, it was nutty, dude. Like, imagine you're sitting there doing your breathing, and all of a sudden this guy just says, "In with the good, out with the shit," and you're like,
ruin this breathing exercise because you're cracking up.
I didn't crack up. I started to, but I just kept my composure. I've done it about 4 times now, and I've managed 4 days in a row to complete it. Today was hard though.
Yeah.
Today was a little bit hard. I had a lot of just pent up energy I had to get rid of. And if you want to know why, folks, go watch my Facebook, because I had to go to Facebook Live today because, I guess you can probably guess why. The people that are, messing with us, they just don't stop. And one of them has decided he's going to just make a thing and attack my wife. So there you go. So I made I'm keeping my word. But here's what we're going to do after he makes his little strike tonight against us, which I don't really care what he says about me. His opinion of me is, like I've said before, it's worth a bucket of squirrel vomit. I don't care. Actually, squirrel vomit may have some use as fertilizer.
Yeah.
But this guy can say whatever the hell he wants, but he wants to attack my wife. I'm going to expose. I promise you. And we're going to go on Rumble, and I'm going to give you everything that I can remember about their trip here. And you have my word on that. But first, we got to get through October. We got to get through Halloween, because you, the listeners, you, the people here, if you want to hear about it, you can go to Rumble and hear about it. We're not going to talk about it here. But I'm going to give you my word, okay, that's going to happen. I'm going to reveal everything. And if he don't want to talk about the stories, I'm going to talk about them. It's going to happen. I'm going to tell you everything and how it went down and what. So let them go first and do what they're going to do, and I'm going to give you the real story. And so that'll happen. But first, like I said, tomorrow we got the members only. Tonight we have a great show planned, and then of course on Friday we have Halloween. As soon as that's done, and we don't have a show for Halloween or for Saturday, I don't think we have a Saturday show planned, do we?
No.
Then that'll be the Rumble. It'll be the November 1st or something like that. We'll go to Rumble, and we'll Rumble. And I'm going to tell you what I know, everything I can remember, at least, about their trip here. And it'll be just us and them. We're not going to even involve the other fools. I got other things in the works for them. Don't worry about them. So that's going to happen, folks. And that's not a threat. Nothing physical violence, nothing like that. We do not condone that here. I got to say it again, because these people are liars, and they keep saying that we're threatening them physically. No, we're not. No, we're not. I'm doing it legally. We're going to go the legal route, because they've given me enough time and enough evidence. That's what we needed. So, yeah. But this guy, you want to cross lines. Yeah. So we're going to do that. But not tonight, not tomorrow, and not Friday, because we got fun stuff planned for that. Maybe Saturday. We'll get to it if I can. But I know exactly what needs to be said and done. They're in way with their heads. They're messing with the wrong people. I don't get rattled. You're not going to rattle me, okay? And when I get upset or I do and say whatever, they think, oh, he's losing his control, whatever. No, I'm not. No, I am absolutely not. You just keep going too far, because that's what you do. When people do those kind of things, they don't realize just how crazy they really are. They don't. So what they do is they show the whole world, the whole community, they show everybody who they really are. You've already seen who they really are, but you're going to see some more. Bless you.
Thank you.
So, and a preemptive bless you, because you're going to keep doing it.
It's hot here.
What is Gilbert saying? Yeah, it's because you're wearing those big old things, dude.
I'm fine.
What episode is where you see a woman arm turn hairy? Is that what you're saying? Which, what are you talking about here? Was it someone's encounter, or was it mine?
Harry?
Better question is, Gilbert, why is your name not in green? Right? Your name needs to be in green so you can watch the show tomorrow. I don't know which episode we got going tomorrow. Do you know? Anthony just stepped out, so I don't know.
Isn't it?
Thing on you.
What was the last one we recorded? I thought
I can't remember. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember. We
did them
all of them
all
at the
early. Yeah,
beginning of the month. We still got to finish recording with Sean too. But we'll be back on Friday
for a live stream.
Yeah, and then Sean, we'll get with Sean on the next week or whatever. So, we were talking about something yesterday too. Is interesting. People in drive-throughs. Yeah. I didn't realize how many I had, dude. So we were thinking about doing an episode just for that, maybe a special episode. But just some of them aren't real long and in depth. It's just people having encounters in drive-throughs, man. Like people working in the drive-through, and then people in the drive-through, and it's something that we all do. Like I was at Dutch Brothers, I go there, and this girl from Dutch Brothers got our card and then reached out to me and told me a creepy encounter that happened to her with someone that was in the drive-through. So I went back and I looked, and we found a bunch of them in the emails, just because every day I just take them from the email and move them over. So they're in these files. And so I just went and I looked in the file, and there's a bunch of them. And so it's crazy because you're working in a drive-through. Like one of them was from Whataburger in Pflugerville. And I think it was Pflugerville. I got to go back and look. And this person said, that they deal with hundreds of people a night. It's just, and they're very brief interactions, but sometimes you'll see something and you'll sit there and you'll be like, what was that? Like, having worked in a drive-through, I can tell you, having been a server, and worked in drive-throughs, I've done all kinds of stuff. I've seen that. And like doing security when we were doing that film festival, I had to use the wand, to pat people down.
Yeah.
Dude, you're right there with people. You feel their energy. Like you can feel something on them. And there was a guy I worked with named Evan, and he's actually no longer with us. I mean, I don't mean like he's not with the company. He passed away. He had lymphoma, and he passed away. But he swore up and down. He told me and my brother that when he was wanding this one person, that their face just kind of like on one side, it just kind of like it melted and morphed into like another face, and then moved back. When he moved the wand by their face. And he said it happened twice. He went up and down, and the guy never told me anything else weird other than that. But I remember that, him telling me, and he told Marty.
It's like their Matrix disguise was coming in.
Yeah, he told all of us, and we were in the office that next morning. That was probably back in 2010, 11, something like that. But it was during the film festival, and during the South by Southwest, we have the film festival the first week, and then the next week is the music festival, and we always do a bunch of work. And he was just like, it shook him up really bad. And then he came back. He left to go to Houston. He came back and he worked patrol for us for a while. Well, when the film festival came back, as you did it one year when they did Cabin in the Woods. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I worked the premiere for that. I worked the premiere for Hunger Games. And the actors were there. Mm-hmm. The actors showed up, right? So we were doing that, and it's actually a really lucrative thing. And so what's crazy, like we came back and this is, you remember, this is like 2011 or something like that. And we told Evan and everybody from the list, that had worked the year before, and we said, hey, we're going to pay you $20 an hour. It's 2011, $20 an hour for 10 hours a day for 5 days. That's good money. Right. And he turned it down. He was like, nah, dude. And he was on a shitty route, on the east route, which is pretty crappy and dangerous. I would have been all over it, man. Give me a week off from that route and go. But because of what he saw at the film festival where that guy's face changed, he was just like, no, dude. He's like, I'm never doing it again. And one of the places that we used to have was called Rio Lotto. It's not there no more. And I can talk about it now. Yeah, we can say its name because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Not anymore, yeah.
But I told him, I said, when you went there, you didn't see anything weird? Because everybody saw creepy, weird stuff there. And he said, no, man, I never saw anything weird. He goes, the only thing I've ever seen in my life was that guy's face change, and that was it. So, I can tell you this. When I was working at Rio Lotto, dude, I heard weird noises, and I saw the black imp-looking shadow things by the playground.
Yeah, all the way in the back where the playground was.
Mhm.
That's sad. That was a weird little place.
Gabriel,
Mhm.
said the same thing. The guy used to work for me at the clubs. He said, "Dude, they have the same thing here at the club." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "They're just got a message from the prayer group. I don't know. Hold on 1 second. Okay. My wife just messaged me from the prayer group. Okay, so we got a message from Dean Zanar. Says, please pray for a friend of mine. He's broken down in Missouri, was on his way to California from New Hampshire. He needs help, and I don't know how to help him as I am in deep South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley area. He also needs Jesus as he is struggling with depression. I just feel so lost right now. I hate that I can't help him, and I don't even know what city, road, or anything he is at. Please pray for him to get help and pray for him to come to Jesus. So y'all heard that. If you guys could pray for him, let's say a quick prayer. It's not going to hurt anything. I don't know the guy's name. Hold on. Let's do this. Okay. And that's in the Paranormal Roundtable prayer group. Father, I pray in the name of Christ. I ask these things in Christ's name, Father God. I ask that you please help this man and help Dean deal with this and help his friend wherever he is at. Help him to find you, God. There is a reason that why this man posted this in the group. And Lord God, I ask you in the name of Christ that you help him to find your son, Jesus Christ, as his Lord and Savior, and accept him. And I ask that you help all those that are struggling and need help with depression or anything else that they may be struggling with. I ask in the name of Christ these things, that you help people and that you help them to stop the demonic oppression, Lord God. Please, in the name of Christ, we pray. Please help this man to find his way to where he needs to go physically, mentally, and spiritually. Amen. Your will be done. That's all we can do. I don't. And Gilbert says, didn't you see a woman turn into a werewolf? I don't think so. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Never claimed to see that.
Mm-hmm. I know people who've seen things like that. What I saw was when I was 15, I saw something that looked like a werewolf, but I didn't see it change. I have not seen a person change, thank God, into a werewolf. So, seen some weird things, but that's not one of them. And you got to be careful too. What's his name? Gilbert. You got to be very careful because there's a lot of people out there who lie and say that we say things that we don't say. And they say that we say it on our show. And then they claim that we're deleting it. Like we say it, then we delete it. All of our videos are numbered. Okay.
Yeah.
They're all numbered. Yeah, there's only one video that we set to private, and that's it. There's no other videos. Oh, that's what he's talking about. Yes.
That's from the haunted tower, right?
I didn't see her change into. That wasn't a woman. Okay, I can tell that encounter if you would like. I can retell it, but give me a second here. I gotta go deal with this. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, I think Yeah, Dick Richards. What you're talking about is an encounter in the haunted tower. Man, that was an old. That was an episode that we did. Like, I think it was towards the beginning of the show, like back before we even had any live streams. I think back then we were just doing the like one podcast episode a week, and that was just like that at that time. That was just the whole plan for the show at that time. Just like it was just gonna be a podcast once a week. And man, we've come a long way. Like especially this October to drop either a podcast episode, like a pre-record, or a live stream every day this October. Like we've really been putting our nose to the grindstone and hustling, working together, getting it done. But it's been worth it. It's been awesome. I mean, like there's 339 people here, right, on a Wednesday night, and it's I mean, typically like there's like at least 4. It might even get up to 500 people. So just like in the meantime, until Wolf comes back, I just want to say thank you all. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you to everyone for listening, for giving us your time. Time is the one thing that you can't get back, and you choose to spend it with us. That means a lot. So thank you. I mean, every day this October, we've been bringing it. So
let's get on this. All right, and then we're almost here. 3:36. That's enough people. It's a Wednesday, man, before Halloween. Who knows how many people are going to show up? But so that was in an episode called The Haunted Tower. I didn't name that. Anthony named it that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a name for that whole episode that went on in my life. There was a security post that I had when I was a teenager. I think I was like 18, something like that. And I had my own apartment. I'd been living on my own since I was 16. Most people can't fathom that, but I did. And how's the baby owl? Oh yeah, I got an update on that too. So here's what happened. I was working, and I was in this one area of that building where there had been a lot. Well, I can't really say that area because there's a lot of spots in that area that had a lot of activity. Like all places that are haunted, there are some that are more haunted areas than others, and more activity. And that place had certain spots that were really active. And so, yeah, there was a lot of activity. And when you go into that place, it's a very foreboding place because you're down in the basement of the control room. And if during the day, and I went there during the day a couple times, it's hustling and bustling during the day. You know, there's all kinds of people moving around and stuff. But then at night, you're just in there, locked in there by yourself. And the ghosts in that place were so common that every ghost that was there, if that's what you want to call them, ghosts, demons, whatever, had been seen by multiple people, or at least felt. So there was one right outside the control room where you go. There was a place where the snack machine was. There was a shoe shine spot, and then some other stuff. And there was a face that would appear on the floor and that would follow you. And then there was this whistling noise that you would hear, like it was somebody going like that, like they were whistling at you. And I got so used to it, I just got in the elevator and ignored it. And I didn't look down at the floor to see if something was looking up at me because I didn't want to see it. But I was upstairs. This cleaning lady, which I thought it was a cleaning lady, and I was like, dang it, she's up here late, you know. And it was pretty late at night. And I remember looking, and I saw her, like she was wearing this blue uniform, and I thought I saw her through the doorway in the cleaning supply closet. So I just was like, hola, you know. And I sat down and was reading a magazine because you had to be up in the tower for 2.5 hours a night, right? Doing this thing called the D-Tex. So you had to hit the different floors. Each floor you had to go clear across. When you got out of the elevator, I would go to the right, go all the way around, hit the other side. But you had to be up there for 2.5 hours. That's what the management wanted, so that they wanted to make sure you were up there checking everything. So you had a lot of time to kill. So I just sat down and was looking at a magazine like Texas Monthly or something. I don't remember what it was. And I saw her in there moving around. I said, oh, that's weird. And then when I looked again, I saw her arm, and it looked like hairy. And then I saw the head turn and kind of look through, the door real quick. And I was like, what the heck was that? It looked like what I had seen when I was 15. And I came to the conclusion that it was a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't what I saw when I was 15 because it was too small, but it was mocking. It was mimicking what I It's like your fear, like it's manifesting your fear. That's what it was doing. And so, dude, I got up and I got the heck out of there. But yeah, that's what you're talking about. But I've never seen a woman change into a werewolf. But that's the thing. Was that a werewolf? Or was that just something messing with me, manifesting itself to look like that so it could, terrify me and try to take that energy, which I think is what these things do. And that's going to lead us into tonight's episode. So I got a person that reached out to me. Her name is Melanie, and she was a casual listener of the show. She's going through some serious medical issues right now. And her husband he's like me. He's a workaholic. He works all the time. And his name is Gary, or John, I'm sorry. But their son is Gary and Abby. They have 2 children, Abby and Gary, a boy and a girl. And Melanie she's about my age. She's 52. She's a little bit older than me. And her husband's a year older than her. So they're a little bit older than me. They're Gen Xers. And their parents were boomers, and their parents' so it's her family, her husband's family. And we'll just call them the Calhouns, but that's a maiden name. But anyway, their family had inherited a ranch on his mother's side. And her mom and dad had got a ranch in 1947. And it was in north central California. Okay. And they immediately, when they first took it over, these were people who had survived World War II. Her dad had come back from the war. This would be Melanie's, on her husband's side, would be John's grandparents. So it would be his grandparents on his maternal side, right? So his mother, her parents founded this ranch, and then she married a guy, and he died. He fell off of a tractor, it was weird the way he died. And then that was his dad when he was like 3 going on 4. So he really didn't know him, and she remarried to this other guy. And so then, he got married to Melanie. Now they have children. So it's generations of this place. And when you think of this place, it reminds me of it kind of reminds me of Skinwalker Ranch, or kind of like Hernandez Ranch, but it's got its own unique vibe about it, what happened to these people. And she says, I think our story needs to be told. I'm really, really happy that you chose me to tell it, and I hope I do it justice. And I'm going to retell. There is a lot of stuff that has gone on there. And so tonight we're just going to scratch the surface, I guess, and talk about it for an hour and a half about what they went through. But we're going to start from the beginning. In 1947, it would be her husband's grandfather, John. We'll just go with John's story of Johnny. His grandfather on his mom's side. So they invested in a piece of property. It was 3 acres. They bought 3 acres and they farmed it, and they just had a little house they had built there, and there was like 227 acres around them that was available. And the first 2 years they struggled, but they made some money. And farming and ranching both are up and down. Security the same way. I mean, it's just one of those businesses, but they did really well. And they saved and they bought 4 more acres. And then the guy that was next to them, he had bought 52 of those acres. When he was on his deathbed getting ready to pass away, his wife had died 10 years before. He just told them, hey, his one son who had gone away to Vietnam was killed. And so it was in the early part of the war. So he didn't have an heir. And his daughter had ran off with some guy, and apparently she was into drugs and all kinds of stuff. So he was going to die alone. So these people, the Calhouns, were the only ones that were really kind to him. They looked out for him, and they helped farm his land and take care of him in the later years of his life. He deeded it to them. So they ended up with those acres that they had, which was like 7 acres. And then they ended up with 52 acres. And then with that, they were able to make more money, and eventually they ended up buying up almost 300 acres around them. And so they ended up with a pretty large tract of land. And this was back in the 50s. By the mid 50s, they had acquired quite a bit of land, and they were still acquiring it. But there was this one area of the back of this property that had been used by some people that had come from Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl. During the Depression, there was also a major drought. This is why I don't really believe that a lot of these things that happen are just like, oh, it just happens. It's just a coincidence or whatever. That's not what this is. This is a matrix, okay? And I do believe that there's this, why in the middle of the Depression, when everybody's already suffering, would you also have a drought? A major drought that nobody's ever seen
Makes
before.
things worse.
And then there's mass exodus out of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, and everybody's in northern Texas, and they all flee to California. I don't know how many people I've met from California who have relatives in Oklahoma, and that's because of the Depression, the Great Depression. And so they went and they ended up in California because of the Dust Bowl, and they lived in these shanty towns. Well, in the area on the back of that property, there were these little shacks. There were 4 or 5 of them. And they think at the beginning, that's what the grandparents thought. And I don't know their names, but the grandparents, and they told me, but I can't remember. Well, I remember the guy's name was Claude. I don't remember his wife's name. But Claude thought that it was just, that's what it was. There was some weird stuff back in that area, land that they had acquired in 1952, and it was haunted. He just said, you know what? I'm not a big, believer in ghosts or whatever, but apparently there's something there. And we're just going to leave the spirits be. And as long as we leave them alone, nothing will happen. And so in 1952, they made this huge acquisition, but they were so broke, they had to borrow money to literally farm all of this. And they had to hire people based on the harvest, and they could pay them. Well, it paid off. But eventually, that land, because there was a drought there too in the 60s, they ended up turning a lot of that into cattle. They started buying cattle, and part of it was cattle, part of it was farming. Eventually, most of it just became cattle, and then there was just like 100 acres where they farmed. And so that area back there, when it was really bad in the 1920s or 1930s, there were people that had lived there, and they kind of set up their own little shanty there, and they farmed for the people that owned it, which was a corporation. But that corporation collapsed, and nobody really knew what was going on. They had kind of gone under. It was like owned by the bank. And so they were literally like squatting there. Eventually, the bank, in the early 40s, when the war kicked off, the bank got their bearings, and they sent people and said, get out of here, and some of these people enlisted and went to war. And some of them just ended up going to San Francisco or LA, different bigger cities, and dispersing from that area. And the people who owned that land, they ended up like buying it from the bank, and they didn't really do anything with it. They never had the money to do anything with it. So eventually the Calhouns ended up with it. So this is what ended up happening, right? So he just assumed that everything was like, as long as we stay away from that back, 20 acres or whatever, we shouldn't have problems. So they didn't really do much with it. But what ended up happening was they had built a nice big house up on the hill in the northeastern corner of the property. That house, from that corner, they could look out and see, right? They could see this land. This would be Melanie's mother, Bonnie. She was the oldest of the girls. The boys died. They had gone away to Vietnam, 2 of them, and one of them died in battle, and then one of them went missing, and they presumed he was dead, but then he showed back up, but he had schizophrenia real bad, and he was on drugs. And so that happened to a lot of drug-induced schizophrenia. It's like, a thing. The Vietnam War did that to people. And it's really crazy because typically they don't they try not to, because World War II showed what happens when you take everybody's sons and they all die. It's horrible. Yeah. So they tried not to do that in Vietnam, but they did that anyway. And then, so it was just Bonnie and her younger sister. Her younger sister ran off and married a guy. They moved to the San Fernando area, and that was it. They made their own way. Bonnie inherited everything. And like I said, this would be Melanie's mother. So Bonnie said that she would be sitting up in her room at night, up there playing with her dolls, whatever. And her sister, I think her name was Agnes, would come into the room and they would play. And Agnes was terrified of her room because for whatever reason, that area of the house looked out toward those shanties, and eventually they tore them down, but it didn't matter. She would see what she thought were green and blue balls of light, like chasing each other around at night. Bonnie said that she didn't really see it that much because from where she saw, she would have to go to the farthest corner of her room with these rounded windows and look in that direction to be looking at it. Whereas her sister's room, she could full on see it. Her brother, she believes, already had some issues. And he was often found in his formative years, before he was even a teenager, playing in those shanties. The other brother, David, would not go anywhere near them. He was terrified of them. The first story that I'm going to tell you about gives you a little bit of insight into what may have been going on there. When they were little, David and the other brother, I don't know his name, I'm not going to say his name, because he's the one that ended up, having the issues. And so, excuse me. So they ended up playing in these shanties. And they were little, and they were told to stay away from them, not because of ghosts, because Claude thought that they were going to be attacked by zombies or demons, but because they were dangerous. These buildings were very old and rickety. They had been thrown up together, like these little shacks where people were living in and freezing their butts off in the middle of the winter and burning up in the summer. They were basically just the absolute base of a domicile that you could imagine, just little squares. The roof was built at an angle so that the water would run off of it, and that was it. The windows were long busted out, and the doors didn't do much. It was just these little dusty shacks that were in the middle of these fields that were just there, and they were there from the Depression. So they were out there playing when they were little kids in the 50s. And one of the things that they did, they would like run in and out of the buildings and chase each other around or whatever. And David said that they were out there playing one time, and his brother, who they say was sort of disturbed. This was before all of this weirdness with him took place. But he thought that maybe this was what precipitated it, what caused him to be. So David's out there playing. He goes, and it's starting to get dark, and he's looking in all these little shanties, and there's 7 of them, right? And he can't find his brother anywhere. So he thought, okay, he must have went back to the house. So I'm out here by myself, and I keep screaming and hollering. So I run back to the house to see if Dan. I guess I could say I really don't want to. His name was Danny, but anyway, to find Danny. So David goes back to the house, and Danny's nowhere to be seen. And he goes to his mom and he says, okay, she's cooking dinner. And he's like, I'm about to get my hide tan because I'm supposed to be looking at my little brother. And he's not anywhere around. This is a problem. And so he tells his mother, he says, hey, I can't find Danny anywhere. And his mother gets really upset. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, we've been out there playing. And he's like, and all of a sudden he goes, I didn't realize, but it was dark all of a sudden. And he goes, and it was like 3 PM. We were out there playing after school. And so she cleans herself up, the apron, she's cooking dinner, whatever, angry with him. She's like, I got to stop what I'm doing. Let me go put some pants on to go run out there to go look for your brother. And she's very mad. She's scolding him and says, I'm going to give you a butt whooping, They go out there, him and his mother. They find him underneath the floorboards in one of these shanties that they did not realize was a little secret tunnel. Like there was a little secret spot there at the very end of one of these shanties, and they didn't know why it was there. They found him, though, in the fetal position, and he was crying. They took him back to the house. They didn't realize, that was there. So when his dad comes home from getting feed, he says, hey, what's going on? Why is, Danny in the room, whatever. His mother was trying to keep him from getting in big trouble. She's like, better I spank you than him because he's going to be all over you. And it's not really fair. It's not fair that this older brother has to take on the punishment for whatever this kid did. He says, Dad, I didn't know that there was a secret tunnel down there. So they go out there to the tunnel, and Claude's with his brother, who'd lived with them for a while. And he had a little house that they had built, a little small A-frame house. It was on the other side of those shanties. And he was like, he goes, the uncle, it says, I told you kids never to go out there. And in fact, he regretted building his house that far out, even though it was about 50 yards away from those shanties, because he heard weird things at night and he saw weird things. And we'll get into what happened to him. His name was Jasper. And Jasper told him, he says, you guys shouldn't be out there playing. When they found this little passageway, Claude, I mean, obviously he wanted to know what the hell it was. He says, Jasper, did you do that? Because I didn't know that was there. He said, no. He goes, and I've searched these things thoroughly. And Claude said when they took that land over, they found all kinds of little interesting things. They even found a little silver wedding ring that was worth a little money. You know, they were surprised at a few of the things that were left behind by these people. And he says, I didn't realize that there was a tunnel there. So they go down there. You can crawl down in it. Then it just comes to a dead end. And then there's rocks. Now, they didn't ever take the rocks out to see what was there. And it wasn't like you had to squeeze through. Like you could crawl on all fours pretty comfortably. It had been dug out. And then it was closed up by somebody for some reason. We don't know why. And we never did find out why it was there. This was the words of Melanie and Johnny. What I didn't understand, though, was the uncle's apprehension, like, because Claude said, hey, let's go. And he didn't want to go down in there. I feel like from what Melanie was telling me that he knew something about that tunnel. I don't know what, but I think he knew it was there. And who knows? Because he was a very weird, secretive person. And apparently when he passed away, he had a whole family. He had a family that lived in San Jose that they never knew about. And so it was really weird. He was a weird guy. He was an odd duck. He came back from World War II kind of, he was in Iwo Jima, the island hopping and the fighting. Oh, man. And he was a flamethrower.
Oh, that's imagine what dangerous he did. Freaking.
And so he basically did a lot of stuff. And so Claude was in World War II also, but he was in the European theater and he got captured. And interesting, talking to Bonnie or Melanie about her grandfather's experience there. She was like, it was kind of weird. She's like, he was very he was treated okay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He got captured by the Italians/Germans and they didn't do anything to him. They were telling him, oh, we're going to torture you and all this stuff. Nothing happened to him. He spent the remainder of the war. And then when the thing happened with Mussolini, the Italians and the Germans that were there just came and released him and told him to go. So he's like in the middle of Italy, just wandering around while the Germans are evacuating and the Italians are on the defensive. They're being pushed back and they're all falling back. And eventually he just walked. Now, here's a weird story. He walked like 122 miles to find the nearest American depot. And he had been in captivity for, I think, 96 days. And he was malnourished. And so they're like, oh, they must have starved you and beat you. He's like, no, there was no food. There's no food anywhere. There just wasn't, And so he ended up getting sent home after that because they thought that his mind was just, whatever. But she said by her own admission, she said, this was Bonnie, not Melanie. Bonnie said, by her own admission that she's like, my dad had his faculties about him. He was pretty sound mind. There's nothing crazy about him, but they thought his time in captivity may have compromised him or made him, whatever. And he was malnourished. He was super skinny. So they just sent him back home, but he was supposed to go to northern Italy where they had built fortifications and stuff, and they were pushing into Austria. He was supposed to stay there and then heal up and then go back into circulation, but he didn't. And they don't know how or why, but he ended up coming back to the States. And about 6 months later, his brother showed back up, and his brother, Jasper, was, by his own words, violent night terrors, and he had to live alone because he would wake up screaming and swinging a knife around. First time this happens in his house, he's like, what the hell's going on? I can't have this man in my house. So they built him a little A-frame house, and so it took him like 2 months, and that's where Jasper lived. But they didn't realize that he would leave for like 2 or 3 months at a time, and he had a family in San Jose. It was a weird thing. So let me make sure that people are following me here. This would actually be Johnny's mother. Bonnie would be Johnny's mother, not Melanie. I made a mistake. So Johnny's mother, Melanie, this was her family. Or Johnny's mother, Bonnie, this was her family. Hope I didn't mess that up too much. So this is Bonnie's grandparents, or her parents, which would have been their Johnny's family. So it was his maternal mother, like on his mom's side, the maternal grandparents. This was their ranch, their land. So what ended up happening with him, he was raised up hearing all these stories. He was 16 years old, 16, when he met Melanie. They started going steady in high school, and then they stayed together. He's like, it's the only woman I've ever been with. Same for her. And they've just been in love ever since. It's a really cool thing. I think that they're a cute couple, and I applaud them for being the way that they are. Very sound Christian people, and they don't have any reason to lie to me about these things. It got to the point with the grandparents, and like I said, this is going to be an ongoing thing. We're going to have to come back to this because there's too much to tell just tonight. And what we're probably going to do is we'll talk about it. We'll put it on one of the pre-records on the members only or whatever. Not to make you get involved, and then we'll make sure that it's a standalone because I don't like that. I'm not going to go, and I'm going to leave it there, folks, and then you're going to have to pay us $5 a month to hear the rest of the story. No, I'm not going to do that. That's not how I work. I want you to hear the encounter. But there's just a lot to talk about, and I can't, and I have these other ones planned for the live streams. I can't just keep going. You know what I mean? So the grandparents, let's talk about what happened to them. So Jasper said something very weird to their son, which was really bizarre, Danny. And he told Danny, he says, if you see the gray ones, this is what he told Danny this, right? When he was playing out there. He said, if you see the gray ones, run, hide, and don't go toward the light. And Danny, that's all he remembered. He was like, Uncle Jasper told me that, don't go toward the light. That was weird. It's a weird thing to tell a kid. So when they pull him out of the tunnel, eventually, after a day of sleeping, Uncle Jasper's in there and he's watching him, whatever. And Uncle Jasper had a girlfriend that was a local person there in the small town they were living around. And she would come over and she would visit and hang out. And so they were there in the room, and she was a very sweet woman. I think her name was Nicolette. I think that's what it was. And him and Nicolette were there watching over him. And Jasper left the room, and there was this rocking chair that they had that was his grandmother's. It was in the bedroom where he was at. Daniel, or Danny, that's the youngest. He remembers Nicolette asking him a lot of questions. And then when he woke up from, I guess would be a night terror, even though it was in the middle of the day, he was crying and screaming and freaking out. His brother David, and this is what was told to Bonnie, told that when he woke up, his eyes were rolled back in his head and he was shaking like he was having a seizure. But when you have a seizure, you're laying down. You're not upright. You can't be upright. You're on the ground, rolling around. And he was freaking out. And he was speaking in a foreign language that nobody understood. But Nicolette actually was Eastern European, Romanian, I believe. And she was, or Hungarian, I believe. So she was talking to him. She had this thick accent, and she was holding him and said that, whatever. And while she was holding him, David remembers him shaking, and then his eyes came back down, and he saw this black smoke go up to the ceiling really quick. And she turns and says, get Jasper, get Claude, get everybody. I think the spirits left him. When he comes to, he doesn't remember anything for days. Eventually, he's outside playing, but he won't go toward the shanties anymore because he's been forbidden to. But his brother, David, who was terrified of that area, wouldn't go there. He's sitting on the front porch watching, keeping a watch on his brother. He's like literally playing with toy trucks, and Daniel's out in the yard swinging a stick around, right? Pretending to be a pirate or whatever kids do. And then he stops and he sits down and he starts talking to someone, having a full-on conversation. Now, remember, this is a schizophrenic person. They believe that was schizophrenia. I don't believe he was schizophrenic. I think that there was something really there. This is my opinion. And when he went away to Vietnam, he was self-medicating with drugs. I think he came back doing drugs, and eventually it messed him up. And he ended up going to Seattle and losing his mind or whatever. The family, it's further removed, but, I was told, look, if you want to say his name, but I was trying not to because, he didn't pass away that long ago. Here's the crazy thing. Daniel was acting weird, and David stopped what he was doing, and he goes to the edge of the porch, and he goes, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden there's a strong gust of wind. He goes, and I hear a voice, like through the wind, like something coming from the distance. And he's like, and it was talking. And I looked, and my little brother was talking back to it. He goes, I freaked out. He goes, and I ran to go inside, and he runs right into Bonnie. Bonnie's the older sister. She's a few years older than him. And she's like, what are y'all boys doing? And he tells Bonnie, he's like, stop, listen. So they go to the edge of the porch. And while Daniel's kind of hears them talking, he looks over. Bonnie, this is the story she told Melanie, right? Now, this is her mother-in-law, right? Melanie told me, this is what Bonnie said. She says, I could not believe what I was seeing. She's like, I saw the stick that he had in his hand, like it was taken by somebody that was standing up and was moved around. But you couldn't see a person there.
It was just floating?
Yeah, it was like it was floating. But it was being moved like somebody would move it around, like they were casually just shaking it around. And David began to scream, and then Daniel looked and got up, concerned for his brother because he was out in the yard, and he walks and he says, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. If you scream, you're going to anger him." So that freaks everybody out.
Yeah.
And Bonnie's like, she's like, Danny, come to me. Danny, come to me. And Danny, I'm getting goosebumps on this because when this,
that's creepy, dude.
yeah, when this was told to me, dude, like I heard a thud on my stairs, and everybody was asleep, and I was like, so I told Melanie, I said, hold on. And she said that when she retells this story, sometimes it's kind of creepy, right? So if you're getting creeped out, I understand. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to creep you out. Even though it's Halloween time, it is a creepy story. And it gets worse. It gets more creepy, believe me. Because it creeped me out. I'm not going to lie. And then there was a part where, and I was talking to Richard about this. He's in the chat, Dick Richards. I was talking about it to him the other day. If you remember, Richard, we were talking about being on the phone. And you hear people's, like you can hear stuff like in the background.
Yeah.
And you're going like, what is that? You know? That was weird. It happened to me and my brother the other day. I was on the phone with him. He was out at the ranch, and I heard something, and he was like, what was that? And we didn't know where it was coming from, whether it was mine or his.
Or do you hope it's NASA or the
we were talking about the haunted house down South Austin. So
you're like, oh, hopefully NSA is just listening and not a ghost.
So yeah, it's weird. So she's like, Danny, come to me. And so he says, don't be scared. And then when they are sitting there talking, the stick goes flying and it hits a tree. And like somebody that would just throw it angrily, you know? And then they heard footfall behind Danny. And then right when he gets to go up the steps to the porch, he gets grabbed. He remembers feeling something grab him around his waist and start to pull him away from the stairs. He grabs a hold of the edge of the stairs, you know, and like there's like this, what do you call it? I forgot what she called it. She used a different word. But it would be like, you know, when you have the little, like not banister. What would it be a banister? She called it something.
Like a guardrail?
Yeah, the rails. But it's the rails of she called it something else. Anyways, he grabs a hold of the beams, the guardrail beams. He grabs a hold of one of the beams. And this thing starts to pull him. They could see him being pulled, and he starts to scream. And he says, you made him mad. Why did you make him mad? And then they hear a growl when David was too terrified. And I feel bad. He's a little kid, you know, and so he runs inside. Well, he's not a little kid. He's 13, but he's young, you know. He runs inside. And Bonnie's sitting there, and she's just a teenager, and she has to go toward this and grab Daniel and pull him off of these beams. And you hear a growl. And she said it was loud, a guttural growl, and it was like she could smell breath and feel like anger coming off of whatever this was. And she said it was not a human being. And if it was a human, if it was a ghost, she's like, it wasn't the ghost of a human. Don't know what this was. She's like, but it absolutely was not human. So she pulled him and then grabs him to her chest and runs. She goes, I'm running backwards. She goes, and I didn't know I had that ability to run that fast backwards. I opened the door and I ran inside. She goes, I closed the door, and a few seconds later, I hear something smack that door so hard. She's like, and there's a glass there. And I thought it broke the glass. And she goes, and I hear growling and grunting at the front door. And she's like, I had turned and I was like praying. She's like, I was praying. Very devout Christian people. She says, and we had a metal cross right above our door. She's like, and thank goodness we did. She goes, and I look back on that. And she told Melanie this. She's like, I think that maybe have helped us, you know. This thing didn't get in the house, whatever it was. And then they heard it stomping around the porch, and they had this big wraparound porch, very nice house, big solid wood floors, you know. She said, and this thing was walking around the other side of the house. And she's like, tells the boys, go upstairs. And the younger sister comes, and she's wanting to know what's going on. And she says, you need to go upstairs. She's like, Agnes, don't be down here. She's like, she ushered all the kids upstairs, very brave. And she goes to each door, locking it, and she could feel the presence of this thing. And she was running around the house trying to stop it, you know. And she goes, at one point, she goes, I saw this blurry thing looking in through one of the windows. When she described what it was like, the way she described it, she said the first thing that came to her mind was some sort of monster. It wasn't a human. She also described it in a way that, like, it was almost kind of like a werewolf looking type creature, but not really. It had horns. So she would describe it as having small bull horns, because you could see its head turning, but with a big snout like a wolf. But that was a very brief look at this thing. And for the most part, she said it was just a blur. It was just some sort of blurry looking thing. She runs around the other side and runs up the stairs. And then that was it. Her parents come back from the feed store about an hour later. The kids were all huddled together. They were terrified. The phone back then, I mean, this is, you know, they didn't, Jasper, he was out there in his house. There was no phone. He would come in for dinner, and, you know, and he'd be working out in the field. And there were people that were working out there with him at that time. And Jasper was kind of like the foreman. And they had about 10 people that would work during the harvest and working the cows and things like that. So he was out there working. There was no way to get anybody's attention. So when the parents come home, this woke Danny's memory up. Daniel started having these dreams, and in those dreams, what happened to him when he was out in those shanties? What happened? Where did he go? Why did he crawl into that hole? That's the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
He crawled into that hole because he felt like something was chasing him. The name that he gave this creature was Mr. Big. He called it Big Man, or the Big One, Big Man. And it was a demonic entity. The way that it described it, it had horns like a bull, just like what Bonnie had caught a glimpse of. And it had a muscular build, big shoulders, backward bent legs, and it had a mouth with where you could see all of the teeth. There was like, not like a wolf, how a wolf, you close its mouth and you don't see the fangs unless it opens them and whatever. This thing had no lips. It was just big jaggedy teeth all the way around. And the eyes didn't close, according to him. They were just these balls. They were like big marbles in the eyes, and it didn't close. And the nose was upturned almost like a pig. This was the creature that he described, and he called it Mr. Big. And he was huge. This thing was about 8 feet tall. Very muscular build. And this thing was constantly walking and making this clicking, growling noise. And it would do things like it would pick up pieces of dirt and put it on its body, and then you could see those parts of the body from the dirt, which was really weird. This is something that Danny had described to his older sister, Bonnie. She thought, this is crazy, but she knew what she saw. She caught a glimpse of it that day, this, whatever it was. She had a dream one time when Agnes was asleep, or when she was asleep, Agnes came into her room, she had a dream that Agnes was floating and she was out near the shanties. Get this. This is a crazy story too. There's a bunch of them. Bonnie says, I hear a on my window. And she says, I stand up to go look and I see this sort of like what looks like a snake or something. I don't know what it was. She goes, it was like this silver looking snake. She's like, and it's kind of bumping up against my window. So I go and I look, she goes, and I see Bonnie, or Bonnie says she sees Agnes, her younger sister, floating through the air, and she's over there going toward the shanty buildings. And she said, I thought it was weird. She was floating, but there was like this snake behind her. What she was looking at was her silver cord.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was kind of like the wind was blowing and it was like the cord was bouncing up against the window, but I think it was waking her up on purpose.
Yeah.
So then she jumps out the window and floats too and realizes that she is floating. And she just takes off toward Agnes. And Agnes, when she gets up to her, she sees that her eyes are gone. There's no, like her pupils, everything is just white. And she's trying to wake her up. She's like, Agnes, she's like, where are you going? And Agnes just keeps slowly floating and gets down to the last little shack there and goes in and then goes down into the ground. At that point, she's like this, umbilical cord like thing she has. She goes, I pulled it and yanked her out of it. And I grabbed her and we went back into the house. She goes, then I wake up and I'm like, whoa, that was a weird dream. Well, I got news for you. That's not a dream. Where she was going was that little tunnel underneath that one last shanty, the seventh shanty, as they called it. Why was she going toward that tunnel? We don't know. But there was something there. She's like
calling to her.
Yeah, it was calling to her. When she wakes up, she runs into the room and she sees Agnes having a violent seizure. There again, this is not a seizure where she's laying down on the ground or on the bed, like whatever. She's sitting up and she's shaking. At this point, she says she hears a knock on the door, and it's like, it's not that late. She said about 10 o'clock. She said, we'd hit the hay about 8 o'clock out there in the country, And she said, it's about 10 o'clock, and my mother was just getting ready to go to bed, and I hear her and Jasper talking, and he had his friend there, Nicolette. And she was like, are the children okay? And the mother's like, well, I think they're asleep. She goes out onto the banister, and she says, I'm here. And they called her Aunt Nick. And she's like, Aunt Nikki, whatever. And she says, Aunt Nikki, I'm here. And Nicolette says, are you okay? And then she runs up the stairs, and she hands her a silver rosary that Bonnie still had to this day. Like she's always kept it with her. What's weird about this, what's really weird about all of this is that the Nicolette knew what this was. She knew that there was something there, and she begged Jasper to move away from that and to get out of that A-frame house because she said that whatever was there came from that tunnel. And it was dug out for a reason, right? This thing would put dirt on itself to become whatever it was, right? Nicolette says there is a story that comes from where she is from, the Jewish people there. They call this a golem. And this thing is summoned, and it is used by dirt. They build a clay figure, they stick it in the dirt, they cover it up, and then it does whatever it's supposed to do. Now, they didn't find any proof of any of this. But she thinks that maybe all of that dirt that was dug out of that tunnel, not only did it clear a passageway for this entity, this is what Nicolette said, but that area right there, they were living in that area for a reason. Because for whatever reason, it had this sort of psychic energy that these people could harness, and that they were probably using it for magic. Now, in times of strife and stress, when people get broke, look at the third world. Look at how many people in the third world practice brujeria.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of desperation.
It's a desperation. So this is what they do. The only proof that they had that this may or may not have been a golem was that on one of the shacks, in the back of one of the shacks, there was a 6-pointed star that had been carved into one of the back of the shacks. So maybe they were Jewish people that were living there. We don't know. They could have been gypsies. I don't know. But that was her thinking. She said that when something uses dirt to build itself. It is a golem. She herself not Jewish, but she knew the stories, and that's what she believed. And she said that when she was in Hungary during World War II, that a lot of Jewish people were doing magic and trying to build these golems to combat the Germans and the Hungarians, because the Hungarians were their allies that were taking these people and putting them into jail or whatever, camps. And so they would build these golems. And she said that she saw some of this magic work, like this Kabbalic magic actually work. People clutching their throats and, you know, going unconscious and shaking on the floor and things like that. So that's what she believed this was. That's what she thought it was. And so she gave her opinion of it, but she stopped seeing Jasper because he would not leave that shanty. Here's the interesting thing about this. Whenever this stuff would appear, there would always be these lights. There would be a flash of lights. And it was one of those things that Nicolette had told them that she says, when you see that flash of light, that is that being coming into our world. And she believed that that tunnel was there for a reason, whatever. She was living in town and she was seeing this other guy at one point, and Jasper was very jealous, but he wouldn't commit to her fully. So this guy starts getting visited by this creature in the middle of the night that literally choked him and threw him through a window. The man thinks that Nicolette had done some sort of magic against her or whatever, that she had done it. But I have a different opinion on that. Mm-hmm. I think that Jasper was playing around with this. I think he stumbled upon it. Mm-hmm. And I think he figured it out and he used it. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. And I don't want to offend the people that told me this story because that's, you know, Bonnie's uncle or whatever. But I do believe that that's probably what happened.
Either whether intentionally or not, I do think it was probably.
Or maybe he gave it the psychic energy through his anger. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, because you can
target.
Yeah, because you can inadvertently participate in, like, for all intents and purposes, what's called witchcraft, just through your raw emotion and not controlling and not checking it. You know, because it's a matter of sending very negative energy out there.
Yeah. And golems are not good things. No. Golems are evil. They're completely evil. What it is an entity, a demonic entity, a Kabbalistic demonic entity that is summoned for anger, from vengeance or jealousy, spite. It is something that they use to attack people. This is something that was very prevalent in Europe at that time, especially in Eastern Europe, where there was a lot of Jewish people. They would use them on each other. I remember reading a story years ago about these two Jewish guys. They had sewing businesses, and one of them ended up being choked to death and thrown through a window and fell to his death. And then the other guy, he reacquisitioned his, he took his property. And then the next thing you know, he's very popular and very famous and has all this whatever. Years later, he admitted that he had summoned a golem to kill this guy. And the guy's name was like Samuel Good or something like that. It was weird. And so this is something that they believe that they can do this. If you make them mad, they can summon, through this Kabbalistic witchcraft. Now, I've read about this stuff. It's crazy stuff. It's evil, dark stuff. These things are not, they kind of make it out like it's a cutesy, jokey type of thing. No, it's not at all. It is not a cutesy joke. It's a demon. It is an evil demon that is bound to these people. The price they pay, though, is their soul. When you die, you literally, this is one of the parts, people don't understand this. If you use a golem, do you know what the price is? You either have to give one of your relatives' souls or yours, and you have to be in servitude to this other monster, right? Which is like the head golem, because the main demon has like fractals of itself. Mm-hmm. That's what yeah. And then you become one, get this, you become one of those fractals. Don't let them lie to you. This is the truth. See, they can lie because most people don't read into this and they don't learn about it. They don't know what that is. You become a fractal yourself. You become a part of that. And then you go and do the bidding of this creature. And the name of this creature, I think it starts with like a K. I'm not going to repeat it. And I don't know if that's the correct name, but it's like that's what this thing is. It's like a chaotic vengeance demon. And they give supplication to this thing through blood. They give blood too. and they give it power. But then the price you pay is, I think they have like a time or something, like 100 years. It's really stupid to do it. It's really stupid. But I don't think they really believe that anything's going to happen to them. That's why they do this stupid shit. And then that thing ends up taking you, and you become a part of it. But then when it sends out that demon, whatever, you become that. You're the golem. That's what I think. I think it uses you and your soul. It uses you as a corrupted golem. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole lot more going on here. That is the basis for what was going on here. But there was a lot more. Jasper talked about with Bonnie one night after dinner. They were out on the porch, and he would always smoke his pipe. And he told her that there were aliens. This is back in a time when, UFO craze had happened, Roswell had happened, whatever. And he said, she asked him about it. And he says, they're real. They're definitely real. He goes, they come here. He's like, when you see those flashes of light, he goes, you don't know what's going to come through that light. He's like, and while they were talking, she literally sees a quick boom, boom, boom flash, which they didn't know whether it was going to be a thunderstorm or if it was something coming through. This was another story. When they were sitting on the porch and they were drinking tea, she's like, it was after dinner. We were sitting there talking, and there was this flash, these 3 flashes, boom, boom, boom. She said it was always like in threes. And it was like, this one was green. And she said when it was the white ones, there was like these white flashes. It would typically be like something like a spirit. You would see like a spirit or something moving around. And she actually thought that maybe at one time, maybe this could have been good spirits that were coming to try to cleanse out whatever it was, or chasing around whatever the bad stuff was. But she said the green ones, every time those would flash green, she's like, there was something evil that would happen, and it would always come toward the house, and it would always come from that back end. She didn't understand portals, right? Now, I told Melanie, I said, if you tell Bonnie to explain to her that this is portals, this is what this is. And so then she kind of grasped it. She got it. And she's like, okay, I get it. This is, that's what that is. She had no real idea of what she was dealing with back then. But this green that would flash, she said that one time, one of the most chilling stories that happened, Jasper was out there in the middle of the night, and him and Nicolette had an argument. She had driven back into town, and he was out there, and he had to get up the next day, and they were going to town to buy some cattle. So they weren't, he was not having time, whatever. He would drink, but she said he wasn't a drinker. He would just drink every now and then. So he was imbibing. He sees the 3 green flashes, like boom, boom, boom. And he's like, what is that? First time he'd seen that, the green. He'd seen blue, he'd seen white, seen yellow. And then whenever this flash happened, he's like, looks out the door, looks around, doesn't see anything, just keeps drinking his whiskey, smoking his pipe, and goes to sleep. In the middle of the night, he hears like like something hitting his little cabin there, his little house. He rolls over, he looks out the window, there's no curtains. That's another thing that Bonnie said was very disturbing. He's sitting in his little house out in the middle of nowhere, and there's no curtains.
So you can see inside everywhere.
Yeah. There were 2 big trees on either side of it, and then there was just open field. And then there was a bunch of trees, and then there was their house, and then there was a bunch of trees, and then there was open field, So it was like clumps of trees, and then fields. And she said that this thing, whatever it was sitting up in the tree. And he looked out the window, and he sees it. It's just like its legs are just swinging casually, and it looks like a werewolf. Like absolutely 100%. Like if you drew an upright canid werewolf, like for Halloween, like that's how he described it, because that's his experience with it. He doesn't have any idea what a werewolf. I mean, like he's just like, that's some goofy thing that people make up. It's a Halloween thing, right? He looks up, he sees it swinging, and then while he's staring at that one, he looks into the window, and he had the light on. Right at that point, there was like a kerosene lantern, whatever. He had turned it on because there was no electricity. And he's staring at his own reflection. And then he's like, as his eyes adjust, he sees the face of something else standing right there in front of him. Then he looks and he sees this thing drop down out of the tree. And it starts to walk like this towards him. He's still trying to focus on whatever the heck else this other thing is. The tree is still several feet, from him. And he's like terrified, and he's holding a pistol. So he points it at the image, which he can kind of make out. He still can't get a real good beat on what he's looking at because it was so close to the window. So he takes the lantern and he moves it behind him onto the table. So it's darker so he can focus on what it is, and he sees it. This thing is staring right at him, not blinking. It had green eyes, and it had a wolf head. It looked just like a wolf, and it was humongous. It was about 7-8 feet tall. And the other one, which he saw sitting up in a tree, which looked small at first, he thought it was a little thing. When it got up close to the window, it was almost the same size as the other one, and he was like holding his gun, pointing it at these two things, and he was just like, back and forth. Can you imagine the terror of this guy? Was never seen anything like this before. It was just in shock, and he fell backward onto the table, and he pointed it at the window, and then just started unloading, firing a 45 into the window. And then when he looks again, there's nothing there, but the window's wide open and the wind is blowing, and he hears growling and snarling. And now the kerosene lantern is out. It's completely dark, and he's in his house by himself. And his only thought is, I hope my brother and his wife heard the gunshots. Lucky for him, they did. And at that time, they didn't have a bunkhouse. Now, they ended up eventually having a bunkhouse where they kept people that worked the ranch. At that time, in the earlier days, in the first 10 years, they didn't have all that. It was just him. People would come from town. He'd go pick them up, bring them out there. They'd work, and then he'd take them back. He's out there by himself. And he doesn't see these two creatures anymore, but he hears them. And then he hears a noise, like a clicking noise from one of them, like it's like that. And he's like, what the heck is that? He's like, and then one of them comes into focus and is standing there looking at him. Once again, green eyes and not blinking, just looking at him. And it's moving its hand back and forth like this. Didn't know what the heck that meant. Didn't know why it was doing that. And by the light of the moon, he could see this thing. And there are two, blackish gray. One of them was more gray than the other. And they both step into his cabin. And lucky for him, by the grace of God, he hears gunshots, boom, boom, coming from the distance. He hears the spray from a shotgun. And he knew it was his brother. And these two things back up, back out, and then disappear around the side of the house. When his brother comes running up, he comes inside the house, and he was like, who were those guys? And he's like, guys. He tells his brother, he goes, guys. He goes, those were monsters. Those were not guys. I don't know. What are you talking about, guys? He said, yeah, there were two big guys, two big men.
How do you
They
see
looked
that?
like they were Hispanic. And he was like,
How do you tell that?
yeah. So Jasper's confused. He tells Claude, he says, Claude, you didn't see, those were monsters. They looked like wolves, like standing wolves. They looked like werewolves. And and Jasper, Claude goes, well, I got to go look. He goes, and he's grabbing his brother, telling him, no, don't go out there. Don't stay in here with me. He goes, there's werewolves out there. He looks at his brother. He's like, man, you've lost your mind. Are you running a fever? You've been drinking, right? And he asks him, he's like, are you smoking dope? Because he thought that's what he was doing. And Jasper's like, no. He's like, they nearly killed me. They were walking into they were werewolves. They came from the green light. And Claude's just going like, what is going on here? He's my brother, has lost his cotton picking mind. What is wrong with this man? So Claude goes, I got to find them. These are, prowlers. They're human. They're men. They're tall, but they're men. They were like
Trespassers, yeah.
Trespassers. They're abnormally tall, but they looked like two Latinos. And so he runs around the side of the building and he shoots again because he thought he saw something. And he goes around the other side. He comes back and he's like, look, I don't know where they went. So he gives him a flashlight and then he says, we got to put electricity in this thing if you're going to stay out here. And then Jasper says, I'm not staying out here. 2 weeks later, he had leveled all of that. The house, all of the little shanties, and they had totally obliterated it. They took the wood. They took it down to their pond. They had a big tank like a pond. And Bonnie told Melanie, she says they had a bonfire. And when they were burning this wood, she goes, they did it for 2 days. They hired a couple local guys. One of them comes up to the house, knocking on doors. His name was Ricardo. He was a Hispanic guy that worked in the town from Mexico. Came up there every year to help with the harvest. He's like, hey, senor. He's like, I can no work down there. I'm trying to do the voice, and but he was like, and no, es el diablos. Her dad is like, what? He's like, el diablos, the devils down there by the pond. I can no work. No trabajo. No trabajo aquí, señor. So sorry, patron. And he took off. He got in a truck with the other two guys, and they booked. That was it. And he's like, Diablos? Like, what are you talking about? This is happening now. Jasper is on the porch, and he's drinking pretty heavily at this point. He's like drunk, and he says, you don't get it. And Bonnie says, I'll never forget. He told my dad. You don't understand. He goes, everything about that place is cursed. And he's like, and I participated. I shouldn't have participated. He goes, but I was jealous. And her dad is like, what are you talking about? And you're babbling. What is this? I don't want to get too dramatizing here, but I'll dramatize it a little bit. And he's like, what is wrong with you? You're drinking. You're a mess. We both went to war. You're going to use that as your excuse so you can ruin your life. He's on his brother's ass. And his brother stands up and he's like, let me tell you something. He goes, I'm the one busting my ass. I'm the one that's out there working. I'm the one that's living out there. I'm the one that's dealt with this crap, this and that, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're living in denial. Your children are telling you they're seeing shadows at night. They're seeing things fly around at night. And this is what they were seeing. They had seen balls of light moving around in the sky, like UFOs. He's like, and here you are, denying all of it. Your own wife has seen something. We'll get into her account or two. He's like, your own wife has seen it, and you're in denial. Hold on. Work. So he tells his brother, he says, you don't understand. He's like, this land is cursed. Whoever came here, they found the right spot to do whatever they were going to do. He said, this land belongs to the devil. Then we need to leave. And he tells Jasper, he's like, I'm not going anywhere. This was the night that her dad became a believer. And he's like, let's go down to the fire. Says these losers you hired are scared of Diablos. So they go down to the lake, to the pond. They go walking down there. On the other side of the lake, by the light of this fire, they can see this creature that looks like he has horns, and he's knelt down, and he's drinking water. They had cattle there, and they thought, wow, one of the bulls has gotten loose. When he stands back up, it looks almost like a minotaur, like a two-legged bull. But what they're looking at is not a minotaur, and it has these teeth. And Jasper tells his brother, he says, I know him. He came to me in a dream. I thought it was a dream, and asked me if I wanted help. He's like, and he's crying. He's like, I wanted Nikki to love me, and she went with some other man. His brother looks at him and says, you're a fool. What is this? Like, what in the hell is that? What are you talking about? And he's just like, pulls his gun up and shoots at this thing. And this thing just moves real quick, and it's behind a tree. And he's like, you can't kill it. You can't kill it. He said, it's the devil, and it's got friends. And he said, and we're all in big trouble. He's like, I'll stay here. I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you get rid of it. He's like, I just wanted Nikki back. I just was jealous. I wanted her back. I didn't know what I was agreeing to. I thought it was a figment of my imagination. He's like, after the war, I began to hallucinate. I'm sorry. At least he thought he was hallucinating. And he says Danny has it too. He can see like I do. They were slowly starting to realize that Danny, the youngest, had abilities, that he could see things like his uncle. I don't believe these men were schizophrenic. If you're saying schizophrenic, as in a person who has the ability to see the other side, then yes. But if you're saying they're schizophrenic and they have a mental condition that makes them hallucinate ghosts and demons, that's not what this was. I don't believe that they were hallucinating this. So Bonnie said her dad had to come to the conclusion that this stuff was real. He gets on his horse the next day and he goes and rides around in the tree line, the woods, trying to find this creature, this being, convinced that it's a physical being about the size of a bear, but that he could kill it, that he could go into the woods and strike it down. She said, my dad never did see it again in the woods. But he was convinced that what he had seen that night was real. And Jasper was living in the house with him at this point, sleeping downstairs, but not taking a room. There was an extra room, a guest room, but he refused because he felt like he needed to stay downstairs and protect the family. Interesting that his brother saw these werewolves that Jasper claimed were werewolves. He saw them as really large men. And he believed that that's what it was until he was out in the woods looking for this creature again for the second month. He had been going out every other day, if not every day, looking for this being. And then one day he comes across something standing up against a tree, just leaning up against it. The legs, the first thing he noticed was these legs sticking out of the tree because it was brown and kind of blended in, or grayish brown, and it blended in with the tree. And he thought, what a strange pair of legs. This thing looked like it had the backward bent legs of a dog or a wolf. Then he looks and he sees the body. Like it was immediately like a quick thought, sees the legs, sees the body, sees the chest heaving, and then it steps off away from the tree and stands upright. And his horse reared up and nearly threw him off. Bonnie said, my dad had a lot of experience breaking horses, and they would use the pond oftentimes to take them out there and ride them around until they got tired. And that was how they would get them to behave and to, submit. So this horse didn't throw him, but she's like, if it would have been anybody else in the family, it would have been even Jasper. He would have been on the ground at the mercy of this thing. The horse turns and takes off instinctively with her dad on it. Thank goodness. This thing didn't follow. It didn't run after him. It just made a howling screech that he could hear for like a mile away. You could hear it from miles away. He gets back to the house and he's still hearing this like roaring, howling noise coming from the woods. At that point, he would not go to that section of the property ever again without help, without any backup. And it was probably another week before he was on the porch after dinner, very nervous, anxiety riddled for about a week. And then he confessed to his brother. He says, I saw one of these prowlers. You were right. They exist. This is not a figment of your imagination. This wasn't a Hispanic guy. I don't know why I saw that before. He goes, but this was a wolf on two legs, built like a man. Very aggressive stance, growling, angry, snarling. And this is what his brother told him. His brother says, I told you. He's like, and they come from the area by the shanties. And when you see the flashes of light, while they're talking, her and her brother David, at this point, he's older and they're in high school, and she's getting ready to leave to go away to school. She's like, I was going to go to UCLA. And she's like, and I was about to graduate. She's like, and I remember my uncle talking to my dad, and he says, if you look closely, he goes, you'll see them at night, these balls of light. That's what they are. They come out of these balls of light. While they're talking, they see boom, 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 3 flashes. But it was white. She said that night, she's like, I had the most beautiful dream. In her dream, she said this figure that at first she thought was like a giant blonde-haired woman, but she realized it was just a man with long, blonde, flowing hair. And she admitted to Melanie that her preconceived notion of what an angel was could have been why that's what she saw. Maybe that's what tempered it. But she said that he came into her room through the window, and he came and sat down by her bedside, or kneeled by her bedside. And he told her, he says, fear not, for the Lord is with you. I'm here to protect and cleanse this land. And told her there won't be any problems. You will be clear of any of these problems. You'll be completely clean of any of these problems until you leave. But she told her, she's like, you must stay pure, you must stay clean, and you must pray for your family. Your family's faith is shaken. God is with you. She's like, and remember, he told her this. This is a dream now, right? Ask Christ for help. Ask for forgiveness daily. Thank God for your blessings. Ask God to cleanse this land, and it will be done. And he told her to plead the blood over all of this, the blood of Jesus, the Lamb of God. This is the things that she was hearing this thing tell her. Now, before you say, this is a bunch of gobbledygook, and this is a woman that was religiously obsessed and she believed all of this, doesn't matter. The bottom line is when she woke up, she felt cleansed, she felt healed. And for the next several months, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. But every once in a while, she would see these white balls of light going around the house, and they would be like in the corner of her eye, be gone. And she thought, this is something that's here to cleanse this land. She didn't feel like it was a negative thing. She goes away to school. She's gone, her first semester in college. The first time she'd ever been away from home, she was a country bumpkin. She's like, and there was a party. And she's like, and I remember I went to this party. She's like, and I got drunk for the first time in my life. She's like, it had been 2 months in school, and I was always saying, nah, I'm not going to do that. I would say my prayers. She goes, and that night I went home drunk for the first time in my life to my dorm. She's like, I didn't comprehend what I had done. I forgot all about my family. I forgot all about the land. I forgot all about God and Christ and the Holy Spirit. I didn't care. She's like, I just went and did what I wanted to do. The next day, the very next day, she finds out that Daniel had fallen and hit his head and he was in the hospital. She finds this out. She calls her mother daily and she's getting reports or whatever, and he's getting better. But he claims that he was drug up a tree by a wolf-like entity and then thrown to the ground. And at this point, she said that her mother had seen this black shadow walking through the hallway, making noise like it was dying, like a person that would be dying was making a noise, like moaning and groaning. And she walks out to go to the restroom and sees it and hears it. Jasper had told her that he felt suicidal, that he felt like he couldn't maintain himself anymore, and that he was tired of praying and tired of whatever. Classic symptoms of this, a haunting demonic oppression happening on this ranch. It was grinding them down. The shield that was put up by this angel that had shown up to assure her that everything was going to be okay, but told her what she needed to do. Jasper talked to her mother, Bonnie's mother, and told her that he had seen an angel, but it was like a ball of light, bluish white light, and bouncing around in the back porch when he was back there facing the pond. And he spoke to it, and it said, fear not, for the Lord is with you. Same thing, very similar, right? About 2 days before the dream that she had had, before Bonnie had had. Bonnie's mother said, that's very interesting. She's like, I had a weird dream too, but I couldn't remember it. I just know that I was talking to someone and they were telling me everything was going to be okay, but that we had to continue to pray. These were church-going people. They never missed. But then slowly they quit going, and then slowly they quit praying, and then slowly they quit. And guess what? Chipping away until the flashes of light were becoming more intense. These green, red, blue, yellow things were coming through. Things were getting through. And it was starting to happen at a more intense pace. Their dad had bought two beautiful horses, a stud and a mare. They go out to the barn. This was about 2 weeks after the dream. She said, I had started praying again after that. She goes, but I was not as focused as I should have been. She's like, when I was away at school, the thoughts began to creep into my mind, out of sight, out of mind, right? I'm not there. I'm living my life. I have to do what I got to do. I got to live my life. I can't be worried about what my family's doing. She goes, I didn't think I was going to stay on that land and try to make it. I thought, I'm going to be at school. Why do I need that? I don't need this ranch with this goofy, crazy crap. And so she said, I became pretty selfish. I quit praying for them and prayed mostly for myself. God, help me pass this test. God, help me do this. Help me with this guy that I'm infatuated with. This is the kind of prayer she was praying. And she says, I wasn't praying for them. I'd be like, oh, yeah. And help my mom and dad with the ranch or whatever. You know, that was kind of the prayer she was doing. Meanwhile, her family is going through intense spiritual warfare. And eventually it would get so bad for that family.
Became oppression.
Yeah. The demonic oppression was so bad that her brother once said getting drafted to Vietnam was like a victory for him. Like that's a win. Because he was on the verge of taking his own life. He didn't want to be there. But her dad was determined to stick around, but the dad was stubborn. And even though things he had seen, he was not fully accepting of what was happening, because everybody in the house and in that on that land was having these dreams of fear not, for I am with you, right? Dad doesn't remember these dreams. He didn't have one. According to Claude, he never had this dream. And he even went so far as to say that the people that were having them were kind of cuckoo. Big mistake. Because I'm pretty sure he was told too, but he didn't accept it. The problem, though, people, is when God speaks, you have to listen. You have to have the open heart, the open mind, the open ears, the open eyes. And no, so many people, their preconceived notion of what and who God is tainted, completely tainted. They think that God is going to do things for you. He's there to help you get goodies and obtain things and take vengeance for you and run around smiting your enemies. Now, I'm not saying you can't ask for help against people who are attacking you, who are spiritually oppressing you.
God isn't there to fulfill your will. You're there
God
to
is
fulfill
not there
his.
Exactly. Say it again.
God isn't there to fulfill your will. You're there to fulfill his. You know, you can ask for assistance, but you can't demand your needs be met.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not a Sears catalog either. You know, it's just like I want this, I want that. But the way you put it was perfect, though. It's like
You said he's perfect.
You have
No
to
man was
conform.
perfect.
But like, yeah, you have to conform to God's will. You conform yourself to it, but people get it backwards sometimes.
Yeah,
you know.
And this one was pretty easy. Like there's times when you get stories, and Anthony, we talked about this last night. Some of the weird stuff that people tell you, but along with the story, they'll be like, "Yeah, I once shot a man." You're like, "What?" That's the extreme. I'm joking, but you see what I'm saying? Like they'll tell you some stuff, and they'll be like, "But you know, I talked to God. And God's like, yeah, you know, it's all right. That guy was really, you know, he deserved it." And you're listening to these people, you're like, I really could easily tell you what you probably need to do, what you need to do.
No, it's okay. I fist bumped my priest at church. He said it was cool.
Yeah. Or people be like, I talk to Jesus all the time, man. Me and Jesus, I got him on speed dial here. Let's see what JC's doing. Hey, JC, what's up? Yeah, okay. And that's not how it works, man. I'm telling you. So you have to be very careful, right? You have to be very careful with all of this. And remember, above all else, when you are given a message straight from, which I believe was the heavenly realm, heed it and know the difference. An entity that's evil isn't, even if it appears to be good, it can't make you feel good for long, sustained periods of time, because the dark energy doesn't work that way. It might make you feel good for a very short time, then the mask comes off. People are the same way. If somebody's truly evil, you will see their true face at some point. It's going to happen. They can't help themselves. They're going to turn dark. Well, they don't turn dark. They are. And what they do is they just take a little bit of light, all they can stand, just to cover up that darkness. It's like makeup. And then when the makeup, when the water hits it, that the makeup's gone. Demonic is the same way. This was months and months of goodness that happened to this family. But then the darkness befell them, and it went on and on and on. So by the time Bonnie returned, it was chaos and a lot of bad stuff. Unfortunately. And then it was her turn at bad. And she felt guilty because she was told by this angel, she believes was an angel of the Lord, and told her to be strong and steadfast and to pray because you can save this family. And she didn't do it. She went away and thought, well, I'm over here in Southern California. They're up there in Northern California. What do I care? What do I care? I'm happy. I'm good. She got the man that she wanted, blah, blah, blah. Everything was great, right? At least she thought she did. The guy that she ended up with ended up dying, fell off of a tractor.
Oh, man.
I said that earlier on the show. And it was Melanie's older half brother that she had a kid, and he was like 4, whatever. It's really sad, what happened. Or not Melanie's older, sorry, Johnny's older half brother. But Bonnie, who is Melanie's mother-in-law, told her a lot of crazy things that went on when she returned to this place. And in that place, her parents both eventually passed away, and she had to endure all of that. And she had to endure the death of her husband, and then she remarried, and that man has been a rock. He's been a good guy. She had to deal with the loss of her 2 brothers. One of them passing away in Vietnam, of course, and then the other one going to Vietnam, but then ending up going crazy. But I think he couldn't handle what he was seeing, and there's a whole litany of stuff that happened to him. But there's a lot more to this. But that's where we're going to end it for tonight. We're going to stop. But if you guys want to talk about it in the chat, give me your opinions or what you think is going on. If you have any questions about this, just fire away. And I hope, Melanie, that I did your family justice. This is the beginning. We're not done, And I have to say, we're going to come back after the end of the month. We're going to come back to the hyena men, the stories of these people in Africa. We talked about Karim's story, but we're also going to talk about a guy named Hakeem and another guy named Kareem and their stories and their encounters with the hyena men of Chad, Lake Chad. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon, probably next week. But what are your thoughts, guys? We'll start with you two. What do you think?
Well, regarding like Melanie kind of falling into this kind of like this phase of like selfishness, where she stopped praying for her family. She was just praying for herself. And I saw some of the listeners commenting on this that, she received a message from what could be perceived as an angel of the Lord and still did not follow those instructions. Now, it seems like really like foolish, right? And it is. Of course, it's really foolish, but it's also very easy for us from the outside looking in to sit in judgment, I think, of her making that mistake. Um, but I think we underestimate, really, we vastly underestimate the pull of this world and the pull of the flesh. We're constantly, like, our flesh is constantly pulling us further and further into being a part of this material world, and being further further away from the Heavenly Father. And I don't think any story in Scripture puts that in perspective more, at least in my opinion, more than when the disciples were tasked with guarding Christ, so that the it wasn't the Romans who arrested him. It was the Jewish the Pharisees constabulary. I think that's the same word. Regardless, but that they were tasked with, hey, stay awake and guard Christ, so they don't come and take him. They fell asleep. Now, think about that. Think about, like, you walk with Christ. You are literally with Christ in the flesh, and the pull of this world, the pull of this flesh, is so strong that even though you're right there in the presence of Christ, you still fall asleep. You know, that's why I think it's wrong to sit in judgment of Melanie for falling away like she did. You know, it's really easy to sit there in judgment of someone when you're not in their shoes, and to forget that we make the same mistakes, but we have the luxury of not paying for those mistakes in the same way that someone else has had to pay for them. And this family's been through a lot. It's a poor Daniel ended up in the hospital for I mean, he was attacked by this thing.
Yeah, another thing too, though, about him, he was being a little bit friendly with these things. You know, I don't know that he was friendly so much with the dogman creatures, but he was definitely friendly with this demonic entity that seemed to be kind of. I don't know what that thing's relationship was with the dogman or anything else. Another thing too, we didn't get into it a whole lot, but what Jasper was talking about the gray ones, I think he's referring to aliens, but then again, he could have been referring to dogmen,
or reptilians.
Reptilians, yeah. Well, there's that too, and there's some weird stuff that goes on. But go ahead.
I found it interesting that the father didn't really have dreams, the same as other people, but I think it's intentional. I think it builds discontent and like some. Tension into the house if like everyone's just having these experiences and then one person isn't, and they're looking at you like you're crazy. Like, I mean, even though he had, seen some things and he's already experienced some things, he's still, because they didn't, he didn't have these dreams, and they're all having these dreams. He still looks at them like, okay, whatever, and it makes them feel, angry, because it's like, why is he not experiencing what everyone else is?
Mm-hmm. Scott has a good point here. Read that, Anthony. Read with or only one of y'all.
How many moments where you feel it's time to pray, and immediately something changes your mind, like watch a video, text a friend, go eat, then you do these things and neglect the prayer. That's the world just pulling us away.
Mm-hmm. And look at what Joel says. Joel Bonnet, who's actually Jewish, and he came on the show one time. And interesting that when you came on the show that night, that's why you should watch the Monday shows. And he talked about a one-eyed creature that was spider-like that crawled up the wall or whatever. It was a very creepy encounter. And we talked about the Mishra and the different, some different Jewish traditions, folklore, or whatever. We got to record together, Joel. It's a very interesting thing. People don't realize like how much there is in this mysticism with these beings. And, there was somebody else that was talking on the show a couple nights ago on the Monday show, I believe. They were talking about, what was it on Monday? Somebody was talking about the three eyes, and one of them looked like the eye had been taken out because it's the third eye. And I was talking about how they use it, the demons use that to subjugate one another. It's really creepy. But it gets really deep. And, you know, I'm not saying that I'm the world's most foremost, you know, person that has the knowledge or whatever. I'm not trying to be the smartest guy in the room. But yeah, when someone brings me an encounter and we break it down, I can give you a pretty good idea of what you may be dealing with. And Joel's was no different. We went into it and we talked about the whole thing because most people don't have the knowledge. They don't have the knowledge to go into this and understand this. I don't know how many times I've watched a show or, you know, and the person's telling them all this information and they're just going, you know, like nodding their head. And I'm going like, dude, right there, you should have asked this, this, and that, you know, or the person's talking and they're telling them and the person's going like, wow, looking all concerned or whatever. And they're not saying anything. They don't have any other cases to back up what this person's saying. I'm telling them, I can tell you 24 different things about what that person is talking about. And I think that's important. And I don't care what anybody says. That's why people come back to PRT. You know where it's at. I mean, this is where you're going to learn. You're not just going to get the encounters and the stories. And that's why Melanie came to me. And I'm not bragging, but I told her, she was going to go to this other person. No offense to that person. I don't really know them that well. But you weren't going to get what you got with us. I promise you that. So if you have the encounters, bring them to me. Talk about them on Monday. Come on and do what Joel did and talk about them. And tell us what you have. And let's break it down because we'll get to the bottom of it. It may not be exactly, but we can at least put it into a file and kind of say, hey, you know, we used to get these stories and we would call them one-offs. And it was something that me and Blackburn talked about, me and Lyle, you know, and it was these one-offs. And I told Lyle, I said, I don't think these are one-offs. I think you eventually just find the other pieces of these stories and then you realize that there's more to them. And that's the thing. A lot of people would get upset with me because they said I would talk too much when I interview people. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But you got to do that because if you don't, you're not going to get to the bottom of what this could be. And you're not even going to help that person. There's all these people talking about, I like to help the guests. Or whatever. No, you don't. You just want to get the story. I'm actually trying to help. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. And I'm saying everybody's like that. Not everybody's like that. But there's some of these people, they don't give a crap. As soon as you give them their story, you're gone. That's it. You're done. Next, assembly line.
Yeah. The guest has to get something out of it too, and you make sure that they do.
You could help them. You could absolutely help them. You know, we had what's her name on the show. What was her name? Her boyfriend's dog got torn apart by this creature, by a dog man.
Oh, was that Rach?
Yeah. No, not Rach Brand. She was the one with the vampire thing, whatever.
Oh man, that was a horrific story.
Is it the one
she told it on the show? But it was
they were in the bathroom
set we did. It was a 3-hour show. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I've interviewed so many people, but she came on, and she had been on that other show, you know, such and such encounters, whatever. And it was like an hour long, and that was it. You know, we had 3 hours with her because there was a lot to talk about, and she had other things besides that creature. The reason why these people at this ranch, I believe, this is what I believe, is my opinion. Why they're having all of this trouble and having these problems is because there was already an energy there. Those people that went there, they set up their camp there probably to harness that energy because they're Kabbalistic. That's my opinion. I don't know for sure when they did what they did, probably to maybe the people that had originally owned this place, and they probably, I mean, they used that creature probably to kill them. I mean, you know, who knows? Then the bank takes it over, but they they squatting until eventually they're driven off, and they go wherever they go.
Joe Stone was her name.
Joe Stone, yeah. So they eventually go, right? And then these people, they come and they buy some acreage, and it's, you know, in the front of that, they don't think nothing of it. Then they end up buying more. Then they end up purchasing the area. There was all kinds of activity there because something was left behind, an opening. They open portals, folks, and they don't close them. And they don't care. These are evil magic practitioners. They don't give a crap. I always hear people talk about, well, they opened a portal, they should have closed it. What do you think they give a crap? These are evil people. Is a burglar going to break into your house
Fix your window.
Yeah, steal a bunch of crap and then
lock
go,
his door on the way out.
maybe I should lock the door, on the way out, or maybe I should, put a cardboard there to fix the window a little. Let's be kind of nice here. They don't give a crap, dude. They're gonna take what they're gonna take, and then, I had a friend talking about it. She was like, it was months and months down the road because she turned it into insurance, but then she found all kinds of other stuff. Well, she didn't find them. She didn't find them. She was looking for this or that, and it was gone. She never found it, and she's like, you're violated in a way that you don't know when somebody burglarizes your property. It could take months, even years, to figure out the full scope of what they stole from you and what they did. Months and months down the road, she was still looking for stuff that they had stole, her and her husband. And she was a person that gave us a story. And we're going to talk about that. But these people, they burglarized their house. But not only did they burglarize their house, but after that, a bunch of weird stuff started happening there. Think about that. I mean, it's like these demon worshiping practitioners, these people that do this stuff. Do you think they're going to open up that portal and then they're going to be nice and close it? Like, who does that? Nobody does that. They don't care. Unless they're doing it where they live, they think that they're closing it, but if they're going back and reopening it consistently, there's no real closing it. You have given permission, and you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. And so I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than somebody breaking into your house, other than maybe it burning down. And for months and months, you're still, noticing that things are missing, that you already turned everything in the injuries you could think of that you thought was gone. But then you're still noticing there's things missing. Because the full, scope of what they stole is never going to be fully told. You don't know. Only the burglar knows. And they get away with it most of the time. Same thing with these demons. They open up a portal and these things come through. The magic practitioner doesn't care whether or not that thing is closed. It really doesn't. I mean, as long as they're not in that area and they can get away from it, they don't care what's roaming around and coming and bothering you. There was a woman that told me a story about some people on her property. This happened in California too, back in the 80s. And they had done a magic ceremony on her dad's ranch down in Southern California. And she found the burnt pentagram and everything, And she goes, why would they come to my family's property to do this? And I said, why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Because
if they do it where you're at, then they don't have to bother with whatever's going to be coming through there for the next 10 years, which is what happened. Like literally it happened like in 1984, and then it was 1992 and it was still going on because these bastards went over there and did all of that. And they did it on her dad's back part of his property. So that's the thing too. And like, there's a story about the Amish, and believe it or not, they do magic. They have a magic penchant for it, but they were doing it on this adjacent property down in this bottom area, away from where they lived, because they weren't going to, who cares that whatever's going to come through is going to be there. And it was this goat-like creature that was appearing. And we had somebody come on the show. What was that? Somebody came on the show and they were talking about a goat man-like entity in the basement. What was that? The guy, I think it was the guy that was laying down because he just had surgery.
Yeah.
It was 2 or 3 Mondays ago. But he was talking about seeing this goat man-like creature down in the basement. Well, these goat-headed, bull-headed looking entities, that's classic for somebody that messes with something, Kabbalistic, and then this Nephilim crap comes through. I mean, they don't care. I mean, they're not worried about they move on, and then you deal with the aftermath and the fallout. But anyways, any questions? Anybody got anything to say before we bounce? Yeah, that's true too, Doc. But they don't typically do it on their own land. Let's put it that way. because whatever, if they do, they're stupid because that's going to be on their property. So they do it out in the woods if they're doing sacrifices, things like that. But think about it, guys. Let me say something about that. Why do you need to go out into the woods to do it? You could easily just do that in someone's house or basement or attic or whatever. You don't have to go out into the woods unless you have a big audience, that you're going to be there, whatever. Maybe you're one of these elites and they do all that weird crap. But for the most part, they're going to be doing stuff. But bless you. They're going to be doing stuff away from, the law or whatever. Yeah. But remember, God's always watching. Christ sees what you're doing. You're not going to get away with it. But they can do it in houses. They can do it in barns. They don't have to go out in the middle of the woods to do it. I'm telling you, people don't understand how these people work, how they operate. They do that so that they don't have to deal with the fallout or whatever they summon. Because stupidly, they don't realize that these things will attach themselves. They don't. You got to remember, though, they're not the brightest either. Because if they were, first of all, they wouldn't be doing that at all if they were that smart, right? But another thing they do, which has always been kind of puzzling to me, is that they think that they can trick God. Yeah. They do. They think that if they tell you what they're doing or what they're going to do through soft disclosure, that somehow it will alleviate the karmic debt that they accrue from doing these things. Like, oh, I told you it was going to happen, so therefore it's not going to be. That's the most utter ridiculous nonsense BS ever. You will pay for what you do. All that magic and all that summoning and all that energy is just piling on top of you. And you will pay for it in the end. Believe me, you didn't win no lottery ticket with free money. No, it's a credit card and you're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Just like anything else.
So is that it?
Any good questions?
You guys want to start the giveaway?
Yeah. If you haven't won yet, let us know. And we're gonna get the banner on the bottom of the screen and let you know what to do.
What are we giving away? Some beanies, maybe?
How many do we have?
We have enough.
Yeah, we got a good amount.
Okay. You want to do beanies?
Let's do
beanies. We have enough beanies to give away. Let's do it. Marines says, I've never won. Well, you just did. You win. How about that?
Boom. Just like that.
Just like that. Send
You're
it
welcome.
to the banner shows. Let's see.
How many are we doing?
Let's do 3.
Okay. Daniel Thacker.
There you go.
And Mary D.
There, boom, boom, boom.
There we go. We got 3 winners here.
Daniel Thatcher Hale is the name of one of the people.
Is
in
it
the
Thatcher?
Show.
Thacker.
What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. So it's at the bottom of the screen, but just to reiterate, if you won the giveaway, first off, congratulations. Secondly, make sure you send an email to giveaways@prtpodcast.com. Please let us know your handle on YouTube, your name, what you won, and your mailing address. We need those 4 things to send out your stuff. And we're giving away beanies tonight. The one that Tony has. Actually, we're giving away that specific beanie, which may or may not have headlights, but they're PRT headlights, so they're special. You could probably sell those on eBay and say that it has Tony from PRT's headlights.
I'm sure
Headlights.
You can make a good living just selling Tony's lice infested PRT beanies.
I'll have you know,
So
I
this is an economic opportunity for you.
Years ago.
This is an investment.
These are
right
ticks up here, all right, bud?
Lice,
Doc
ticks,
said, I don't want the one off of Tony's head.
Well, too bad, Doc. That's the one you're getting.
He just gets it and just throws it away.
Yeah.
Joke's on you, Doc. I'm going to go put all those beanies on.
We give everybody new ones. We're not going to do that. I think I got one right here, too. Oh, yeah, I do. You put one on. Let me put this one on. Let me represent East Los Holmes.
Yeah.
You know ese? See if I can fix it a little bit here.
Let me get it on right. There you go.
There we go.
You want these Holmes? This is a good one, man.
You got the one eye.
You just got to grow the mustache and the soul patch only, and
Yeah.
shave everything else. Still wearing sunglasses, even though half of your eyes are covered.
Who are you
just
trying to
put
get
them on top like
crazy
that.
with? That's
Yeah.
it. Don't you know I'm local? Yeah, I do look very Latino in this right here. Let me show my eyebrow at least. There we go. Oh God! It says you could take Wolf's sweat and clone him. Yeah, because I mean, you would want that. You would, because you would want these guns. Look at that. You see, that's why you want to clone me. That's why you want that. Yeah, because people don't realize like how valuable. Look at this. Because if you had a clone of me, you could have them do this right here. Look at that. Okay. That's what people, and they're mad. They're mad. They're like, he's a fat boy. I'm not a fat boy. I'm a strong boy. You're a fat boy. That's the difference. One of them's always like, he's a fat boy while he eats Bucky's burritos. No, you're a fat boy. You are absolutely a fat tittied boy. Yeah, you are. You don't have these. You don't have traps. You don't have muscles. And you're jealous. You're angry because my arm is the size of your leg and my leg is the size of your body, even though you're fat. And they're just jealous, dude. I'm telling you, though, the same guy that says that I'm a fat boy, he must really like fat boys because I look over and he's drooling while I'm working out. I mean, he's a gross, sick person.
Weirdo.
But he definitely had a thing for me and Maddie. I can tell you that.
I know.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you for tuning in, folks. Remember, we'll be doing a Rumble to address these fools, and we're going to talk about it properly. And that'll be coming up in November, but we're not going to be like them and waste October on that stupid shit. We're going to talk about what we're here to talk about, which is the paranormal, the weird, the strange. And we're going to make it a little less weird, a little less strange. Bluestone had a very interesting comment here, and I want to address it. It is interesting. Andres is typing all in capitals there. What's he doing? Let's see what's going on with that too before we bounce. I think pride and jealousy are two of the worst things that can happen because that's the fuel that burns in these people. Their pride and their jealousy. And they burn with anger. They're like, oh, we attacked him and he attacked back. What did you think was going to happen? You thought I was going to sit there like a little punk? You like to call me names and say all kinds of goofy things, but here's the thing about these people. I'm going to say this. Not one of you would say it to my face. Not one of you. You've all been in my presence with the exception of the Roach Boy. Y'all have all been in my presence. And if you had a problem with me, which I could tell a couple of you didn't like when I told you what to do because you were supposed to be doing a job. But you didn't say anything, did you? When you had your opportunity, you obviously had it all, you were all ganging ready to do what you were going to do. But you didn't feel brave enough, I guess, if you weren't with your pack of hyenas. I'm not scared of you all together. And each one of you can pick your best friend, too. You're weak. You're very weak people. Very weak men.
Bunch of keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors. None of you would say, I promise you, folks, they're scared. You are very, very scared of me. Very scared of me. That's why you run and go, he's touching me. And you cry, yeah, because you're scared. You're scared. I get that you're scared. Because you're lazy, too. You're pathetic. You don't go to the gym. You don't do anything. You don't work. You don't do anything. You lay around and get fat, and you're all fat. You were all fat people, and you're weak. And you're afraid of the big bad wolf. That's why you talk all this crap. But you feel safe where you're at. And then you run around telling everybody, they're out to get us. They're out to get us. If you're really smart, you would stop. Because I know you're afraid. I know you are. But we're not going to do anything physically to you because I don't need to. I don't have to do anything physically to you. And you know that you are hoping that we will never run into each other face to face. Because believe me, there's nothing physically intimidating about these people. But they're not going to fight fair. They're not going to do that. They're a bunch of bushwhackers. You're going to hide and do it from the shadows. if you had to. But even then, I don't know. I think you're too scared. I think you're cowards. You're cowards, and you attack my nephews, and you attack my audience, and you attack my wife. You attack our pets. You're scared. Like I said, when men are fearful, power over other men makes them feel less afraid. Mm-hmm. So they gang up in groups so they can try to bully everybody. Then you met me. You couldn't bully me. You couldn't buy me off. You couldn't do any of that. And now you're stuck in a perpetual loop, which you have the power to end at any time. Because as soon as you stop with us and you stop attacking me and my family, it ends. I won't say another word. Mm-hmm. But as long as you keep pressing forward and you keep lobbing grenades, I'm going to continue defending. That's what you're really mad about, is that I won't roll over and just let you do whatever the hell you want to do. But that would make me not a man. So, Bluestone says, being in a home, I've heard, makes a difference as a square out from outside. The square is a mockery of the new earth, the new Jerusalem to come, like the square in Mecca. That's a very good observation. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you feel like you are going to pass away, I know it could happen suddenly, whatever, you'd be better off outside than passing away inside of a square room. There's a whole bunch of research on that you can look into if you have time, whatever. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everybody, and of course the stalkers who are here watching me and hoping that I say something that they can go and run and give to their friends or whatever, whoever's doing all their work or dirty work or whatever, or something that might get us in trouble or whatever. Just keep being afraid. You've created the boogeyman, not me. I didn't make myself into that. You did. And you've said the most horrible, most obscene things. And like, he's out to get us. After you say the most horrible things, you know. We'll talk about it on Rumble, folks. We'll talk about it on Rumble. All right, guys. Also, Risky says, did you get the email? I don't know what email that is. Re-email me. I don't know what that is. I have a question for Thacker, one of the people that won tonight. Did you email me before? If you emailed me before, please email me again through joshturnerprtpodcast.com and tell me that was you that emailed me, because you sent me a thing and it was under Shepherd Thacker or Thacker Shepherd. So if that was you, then re-email me, please. Yeah, exactly. No, we're not going to do Rumble tonight, Felicia, because I got to get all my notes and everything together so that I can do it correctly. And I got to work. Unlike them, they don't work. I do. I have things I got to do, so I got to go to work. And I got to work from midnight to 6 tonight. So these people are doing whatever they're doing, spinning out, saying all kinds of crazy stuff. But we got them. We got them because we got the real reality, not the fake pocket reality that they've created for everybody and themselves. And, you know, we'll bring the real truth. You know what I mean? Titoe says, love and light. Yes, Titoe. Thank you so much. And we're out of here, guys. We'll see you.
Peace.
Good night.
Oh.
He's no proud of himself. You're still in it.
Yeah. You told me I would have held that pose the entire time.
As I travel this life alone, two paths both unknown, for what already has this life shown. The first step I diverge from normalcy, no paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. Less traveled, dark and cold, I came upon a fork in the road. I pondered, both mind free. The fall had come, for yellow is the autumn tree. Both I travel, for I'm but one. I could not see, for both were bent, the overgrowth and canopy. Where will destiny lead me? The first step I diverged from normalcy. No paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. I began my journey on the road less traveled. Regret haunts me at times, looking back wondering where the other path myself would find. But both paths are traveled equally, for many take the zombie road to normalcy, and others seek individuality. From the wear on the trail it appears 50-50. With every footstep came pitfalls and risks, rewards and opportunities. Looking back, what did I really miss? The first step I diverged from normalcy. No paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say.